Well, this turned into a very eventful night. I was not planning on coming on here tonight and talking about CM Punk walking out on Rampage, a show he wasn't even scheduled to be on originally, and announcing that he is injured and he is going to need surgery and he is stepping away from the ring. All of a sudden, the main event of Forbidden Door, which we only first got a whiff of on Wednesday, is already off. Let's lead off and talk about the CM Punk story, because it's part of the reason why I had to kind of gather my notes here, because there was a lot of confusion on Rampage tonight. And frankly, I think there's still a lot of confusion. There's still questions that need to be answered about what happens now. It all started during SmackDown, ironically, only a couple of hours before Rampage went live, a rare live episode of Rampage. CM Punk went on Twitter earlier this evening and he posted a very cryptic tweet. You read between the lines, I think he kind of knew that this was probably not going to be a very good announcement. And it made me think back to the beginning of Dynamite on Wednesday night when Punk initially came out the night after, or rather the Dynamite after the pay-per-view, right? Comes out AEW World Champion. And he dives into the crowd. And he did that at the United Center for the first dance when he first came back. He dove into the crowd. They kind of body surfed him a little bit. He did that same thing at the beginning of Dynamite on Wednesday, and it looked like he smacked his leg or he smacked his foot on the guardrail. After that, he was limping down the aisle to the ring for his trios match with FTR to open the show. And then during the match, he went for a springboard move and he slipped, and he was still, he looked very off on Wednesday and seemed to be favoring his foot. So when I saw that tweet from him earlier tonight, the first thing I thought of is, uh-oh, I hope he didn't hurt himself on that body dive on Wednesday. We still don't know the exact nature of the injury, but that was the feeling that I had reading this tweet. He said, I'm going to be on AEW Rampage live tonight with an important announcement in regards to the AEW World Championship and my career. Please tune in at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. CM Punk walked out on television tonight in the middle of Rampage, limping slowly down to the ring. Did not look very happy. He looked very sullen. He looked very depressed. And he got into the ring, and he had tears in his eyes. So before he even said a word, before he even opened his mouth tonight, you knew he's not that good of an actor. You knew something was very wrong. This was probably not going to be a very happy announcement. And he said that he got to the building and every bone in his body told him to turn around and go back home to his family, go back home to his wife, go back home to his dog, Larry. But he said, nope, I have to stay. Every bone in his body told him to do that. He said, even the broken ones. And he said that he told us that he would give us everything he could until the wheels fell off. He said he has good news and he has bad news. And he asked the fans, what do you want first? He said that the bad news is he's injured and he needs surgery. He did not tell us the nature of the injury. We don't know for sure if it's a foot injury. Is it a leg injury? Is it a knee injury? Is it an arm injury? He didn't tell us. We can just sort of assume, based on the way that he's walking around and limping, that obviously it's a broken foot. Or maybe he said broken foot and I just missed it, but that's what the injury is. Clearly it's a broken foot. How bad of a break, we don't know the exact details yet. But he says there's a couple of things broken, one of which is his heart. He said that he wanted to have one hell of a run, and obviously now that's going to be delayed. Not going to be able to have that run right now. He said the good news is that he could still do all of the things that he just talked about. He can go on and have that great run. He could still do it. He said that the wheels haven't fallen off just yet. It just so happens that one of them happens to be broken. So yeah, basically he did say he had a broken foot. Without actually saying it, he did say that he had a broken foot. He called it a bump in the road. He said Tony Khan. He told Tony Khan he does not want to hold this place up by being out on the shelf, holding the championship hostage. He said there's a laundry list of men who could be the champion. He specifically name-dropped Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley, thus proving MJF's point from his promo on Wednesday, talking about all these ex-WWE guys coming in and getting all the attention and getting all of the spots and all the spotlight here on these shows. The two guys that CM Punk name-dropped are two former WWE guys. But he named them specifically as two examples. He says the get back is going to be bigger than the setback. He said he's the champion for a reason, and he's going to come back bigger, faster, stronger, and hungrier than ever before, and he will prove why he is the best in the world. It was not clear at all when this promo was over whether or not he had actually relinquished the AEW World Championship. He made the comment about how I don't want to hold this place up, but then he said Tony Khan basically didn't want him to. And then right before they went to commercial, Chris Jericho, who was on commentary tonight, made the comment that CM Punk has just announced that he's relinquished the title. So there were mixed signals going into the commercial break about exactly what the hell just happened here. We know he's hurt. We know he needs surgery. We know he's going to be going away for a while, but is he giving up the title? I mean, it wasn't really made clear by him that that's what he was doing. But then Chris Jericho said that he was, so I assume, well, Tony Khan must have fed that to him. The AEW World Championship has been relinquished. And in fact, when they came back from commercial and talked about it, Chris Jericho said it again. He said the same thing. The title has been relinquished. Then Bryan Alvarez goes on Twitter and says that CM Punk has not relinquished the AEW World Championship. This thing almost fell here. I want to get injured here. So, mass confusion now about exactly what the hell is going on here. Bryan Alvarez doesn't even work for AEW, although you ask some fans and they would tell you that he and Dave do. A lot of fans would say, oh yeah, Meltzer and Alvarez, yeah, they work for AEW. Alvarez doesn't even work for the company. He's saying, no, the title is not relinquished. Chris Jericho's saying it is. Evidently, Chris Jericho needs to start consulting with Bryan Alvarez about what the fuck is going on in his own company. Because as it turns out, Excalibur had to explain things to us a little bit later. And as I understand it, the AEW World Championship is not vacant. CM Punk is not relinquishing the AEW World title. I even had to go in and change the title here of the video because I wanted to make sure that we're, accurate here with this. CM Punk is going to remain the AEW World Champion. What they are doing is, at the beginning of Dynamite this Wednesday, they are going to have a Battle Royal. The winner of that Battle Royal will then meet Jon Moxley. Later on in the main event, one-on-one, they said the number one ranked Jon Moxley, even though you go on AEW's own website in their ranking section, he's ranked at number 4. So I have no fucking idea what the logic is behind that. I mean, you don't really need logic. Jon Moxley is one of their biggest stars. But again, I don't know where they're coming up with this number one ranked stuff. But the winner of that Battle Royal will go on to wrestle Jon Moxley in the main event of the show. The winner of that match will then go on to Forbidden Door and challenge for the interim AEW World Championship. So we're going to get this interim nonsense again. I'm not really a fan of this interim stuff. We went through this already with the TNT title. However, there is one potential option here. And I don't know if they're going to go with this or not, but if they did, in this particular situation, the interim label would actually make sense. Generally speaking, I'm not really a fan of this whole interim stuff. The guy's hurt. He's going to be out for any number of weeks. Could be a few months. Depends on the severity of the injury. Strip him of the title. And when he's ready to come back, the money is in the chase. CM Punk chasing to get back the AEW World Championship that was taken from him, even though he never actually lost it. But that's not what they're doing here. So it was a lot to unpack. Again, a lot of confusion. I don't want to, call them out on it too hard because I have no idea when they even found this out. The CM Punk thing was not even supposed to be on the show. It was 2 hours before showtime that they even announced that Punk was going to have an announcement. So it was mass chaos. Nobody knew what the hell they were talking about. And then in the main event, you got Dante Martin challenging for the TNT title against Scorpio Sky. This poor fucker is trying to have a championship match. He's in the main event of the show, and nobody gives a fuck because everyone is still thinking about the Punk segment, which, for whatever reason, they didn't close out the show with. And I'm not sure why they didn't just end the show with the CM Punk announcement. They put that right in the middle of the show, and then nobody cared about the main event. Nobody was talking about the main event. Even on commentary, they weren't talking about the main event. Excalibur had a speed read through this whole thing about the Battle Royal and everything on Dynamite on Wednesday. So again, I don't know why they didn't just close out with that, but that is the way things stand. It sucks. Let's just talk about this situation first. CM Punk came back to the company in August. He is their biggest star. They put the championship on him at Double or Nothing. He got this big win in Las Vegas. He was at that media scrum when the event was over. He was all emotional. He was so proud to be the champion. They went and they teased a match for Forbidden Door on Wednesday. It was going to be CM Punk against Hiroshi Tanahashi at Forbidden Door at the end of the month. We're getting the big super show. AEW against New Japan. And that was going to be the main event. Now, they never made it official that it was going to be for the championship, but the indication was that, especially Tanahashi making the belt, motion around his waist, is that it would have been for the AEW World Championship. So, this could not happen at a worse time. There's never a good time for your champion or anybody, a big name, to get injured, but this is the absolute worst fucking time for something like this to happen. And I do feel bad for CM Punk because I do, again, you watch the scrum, you listen and watch him talk about this stuff, you could tell that it means a lot to him and that he was ready to go on this run and how important it was to him. And now it just poof, just like that. One injury and it gets taken away from him. And if we come to find out that this foot injury, this broken foot, was on that stupid dive. I joke all the time about all the dives in AEW. It could very well be that this injury was sustained on the most unnecessary of dives, where he was just coming out to make an entrance for his match, and he said, oh, you know what, I'm going to dive into the crowd. And he misjudged it, and he hit the guardrail. Now, I don't know if that's where the injury happened, but it sure looks like it. That makes it even worse. That makes it even worse. So I hope that it's not too serious, and I hope he's able to come back as quickly as possible. But now we move on and try to figure out, where do you go from here? I heard about this Battle Royal and what they're doing on Wednesday, and my first thought is, you've got Jon Moxley, who's going to challenge the winner of this Battle Royal. At the end of the show, the winner will go on to Forbidden Door. Now, I don't think they actually mentioned Tanahashi's name at all. I think we're all just sort of assuming that the winner will go on to meet Tanahashi. And they're not just going to junk the Tanahashi thing and put him in there with somebody else and then come up with another person to put in there with, either Moxley or the Battle Royal winner at the pay-per-view. So let's assume that it's going to be Tanahashi. The most logical match that makes the most sense is Tanahashi and Jon Moxley. Moxley has been wanting to get Tanahashi in the ring in a singles match now for months and months and months and months and months. They were in a match together. It was a 4-way, though, at a New Japan show. I think it was the show in DC last month. He still has not gotten his singles match with Hiroshi Tanahashi. I can imagine him in the back on Wednesday when Tanahashi came out to accept Punk's challenge, and they should have had a little camera in the locker room showing or wherever he stays in the building, because he comes to the crowd, showing Jon Moxley throwing furniture. Remember when Undertaker got drafted years ago? I think he drafted to Raw, maybe it was, by Ric Flair. And they zoomed in on him, and he threw like a bottle of water against the wall. He was all pissed. They should have showed Moxley's reaction, like, God damn it, this guy's dodging me again. Well, now you can do Moxley and Tanahashi for the AEW World title at Forbidden Door. If New Japan thought they were going to get the match, I'm sure Tony Khan could talk to Gedo and New Japan and say, look, extenuating circumstances here, we'd like to do this match on the pay-per-view here in the States. That would be the match that makes the most sense. And then you have Moxley go over. Only because I can't imagine they put the title on Tanahashi if he's just going to turn around and go back to Japan. Perfect world, you put the title on Tanahashi. And then if Punk comes back in July or August, you could still do Punk and Tanahashi. But I don't see, logistically, I don't see how that works. You do Moxley and Tanahashi at the pay-per-view. Moxley goes over, and when Punk is ready to come back, you have interim champion Jon Moxley against interim champion CM Punk, or the real champion CM Punk, I guess. And that's a big match. It's a big match we haven't seen yet. CM Punk against Jon Moxley. So that's one option. Now, there is another option here. The question, I guess, would be who is going to win that battle royal. It almost doesn't matter if Moxley is going to go over. We could get Bryan Danielson against Jon Moxley. We can get the two members of the Blackpool Combat Club wrestling at the end of Dynamite on Wednesday. Could even have Danielson go on to wrestle Tanahashi, but I think that's less likely. I don't see that happening. The issue there, if you're going to do one of the two Blackpool Combat Club members, it's got to be Moxley. Just story-wise. It's the option that would make the most sense. But there is another, two more, actually. Hangman Page. Hangman Page was the last AEW World Champion. He got beat by CM Punk last Sunday. Now, there's none of this automatic rematch bullshit in AEW where every champion that loses gets an automatic rematch. I mean, some of them might, but you don't have that same automatic rematch shit we had for so many years in WWE, and probably still have in WWE. However, he lost one match. He got beat by CM Punk. CM Punk is out of the picture now. Hangman Page could win the Battle Royal, and it could be Hangman against Tanahashi. All that stuff that went around this week about Hangman and Okada, apparently that was all bullshit. That's not the match that's happening. Would have been a great match. You could do Hangman against Tanahashi and put the belt right back on Hangman. When Punk is ready to come back, you've got interim champion Hangman Page. One more time, one-on-one against CM Punk. In that scenario, Punk beats him a second time. Is that ideal? Probably not. But outside of the Moxley idea, that would probably be the other idea that I could see them going with. That's one of those practical things that, yes, I could easily see Tony Khan going back to Hangman. You do Hangman and Tanahashi. But there is one other very interesting option. And it's funny because between the MJF stuff that happened this week and tonight, the CM Punk announcement, this has been probably the most newsworthy week in AEW history in terms of all the shit that's gone on this week. MJF cut that promo on Wednesday night that had everybody talking, right? He called Tony Khan a fucking mark, and they cut his mic off, and he bailed through the crowd. They have removed MJF from the show opening for Rampage. They have removed him from the show opening signature, the video, for Dynamite. They have pulled his merch. They have removed him from the roster page. They have gone through every step since Wednesday to try to erase this man and put what is clearly an angle now. They've turned this into an angle to put it over the top and make it as realistic as possible. We should start seeing MJF popping up at random indie shows. You want to go all the way with it? Let's go all the way. Have MJF show up in the crowd at a WWE Raw show. He'll be asleep within 30 minutes. He'll be passed out in the crowd. Now we find out about the Punk injury. I don't know what Tony Khan and MJF were planning going forward for this angle. I'm not sure if MJF was going to disappear for a while and we weren't going to see him on TV since evidently he's being banished now from the shows. Do you call an audible in this instance? Do you have MJF show up even at the last minute and enter himself into that battle royal and win the battle royal on Wednesday to open the show? Once he wins, even if Tony Khan doesn't want him in there, Tony can be like, well, he won, so I guess we have to do the match. You do MJF and Moxley at the end of the show. MJF wins. And you set up MJF challenging Tanahashi at Forbidden Door for the interim title. And you make MJF the interim AEW World Champion. We don't know how long Punk's going to be out. Everybody was talking about the summer of Punk, right? He had the summer of Punk in Ring of Honor. We had a summer of Punk in WWE. And now we're going to have the summer of Punk in AEW. Somebody asked him about that at the media scrum. What is it about summer? And Punk was like, I don't know. I'm a fall guy. I like Halloween and the cooler weather. But yet it's always the summer of this and the summer of that. Maybe it's not the summer of Punk. Maybe it's the summer of MJF. When Punk is ready to come back, you got MJF and Punk, which we always had to go back to that for the rubber match. And I've pitched to you guys what my idea would be about Punk needs to be the guy that MJF beats to become the AEW World Champion. Now we got a monkey wrench thrown into things here. MJF is hot after that angle, after that promo. Everybody is talking about him. Do you strike while the iron is hot? Whatever their plans may have been, there's something to be said when shit goes down. You need to be able to react. Tony Khan does a pretty good job of that. He can react. WWE does not always do that. They have their plan. They're going to stick to their plan no matter what. Do you call an audible in this instance and capitalize off all the momentum? Try to find a storyline reason why it would make sense for MJF to even be in the match. Like I said, he enters himself into the Battle Royal at the last minute. He wins it. He goes on, wins the championship. And we have MJF probably as annoying as ever, walking around with Tony Khan's belt, shoving it in his face, saying, hey, you can call me interim, whatever you want. I'm the man now. I have this. I have the power. And he's going to do what Punk did. He's going to take that title. He's going to take it all over the place with him. He's going to take that title to the back. He's going to piss on that fucking thing. They could still play up this angle. But you've got that match, champion against champion. When Punk is ready to come back, MJF and Punk revisited to crown the real AEW World Champion. So to me, those are the three scenarios that I'm thinking of. Moxley being, I think, the most likely. Hangman is there. You want to go back to Hangman? But MJF is the wild card. You want to have some fun with this? You go with MJF. What they're going to do, I don't know. Again, I was not expecting when this night was over to be talking about the fact that we now have to crown an interim AEW champion. And again, it sucks, but sometimes you get met with a situation like this and it sucks. You try to make something out of it. This could end up making things a hell of a lot more interesting than they would have otherwise been. But I do feel badly for CM Punk, and hopefully we'll get more information about exactly how, serious the injury is. Depending on how bad of a break it is, look, he can be back within 6 weeks. If it's worse, he could be gone for 3 months. Big difference there. But let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys think as far as these scenarios here and who you would like to see go on to challenge, I presume challenge Tanahashi at Forbidden Door. I do hope we end up getting Punk and Tanahashi at some point. I was kind of looking forward to that. So again, the timing is never good, but especially not now. Not with everything going on. But with the thing with this AEW roster, I just mentioned Moxley, Hangman, and MJF. But think about the roster they have. Think about all the people. I'm always talking about how come we're not seeing more Malachi Black, right? We just got Miro back on TV. Like, they have a very deep bench in AEW. Punk going down is not some kind of big catastrophic thing for the company. They have so many names under contract right now that they could just slot in there and they wouldn't really skip a beat. That's one of the benefits of having a deep bench like they have with this roster that Tony Khan has put together. But the MJF thing is the one that I think would get a lot of people talking. And they could really have some fun with that. We're gonna flip it around here a little bit because I was going to start with SmackDown. I don't know why. I don't even know why I bother with SmackDown, frankly, on most weeks. This is a show. This is a show in SmackDown. Not a single match was announced for the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view on Sunday. We have a pay-per-view in less than 48 hours. Not a single match before this show tonight was a SmackDown match. And now we have one. We have one SmackDown match on the card on Sunday. You know what that match is? Happy Corbin against Madcap Moss. No holds barred. That is the one and only representative of SmackDown in terms of all the matches on the card that we have on Sunday. If that doesn't tell you something about the state of SmackDown right now, then I don't know what does. But hey, at least we got one, right? At least we got one. Hit that like button. Super chats are open. I'm sure you guys have a lot of thoughts about this whole CM Punk situation. The Battle Royal. Hey, who do you want to see go over? Maybe it's somebody I didn't mention. A lot of different ideas. Tony Khan has to really think hard about this before Wednesday. He has some time to figure out what he's going to do. But I think the answer is staring him right in the face, with either Moxley or MJF. There's something flying around here, God damn it. I love how summertime brings out all the mosquitoes here. They eat me alive. They love me. They love me. They eat me alive. Somehow they're always attracted to the light. Always. As soon as I go live, they're like, "Ooh, he's live. Want to get a front row seat." I will read your super chats though. Also, I want to give a shout out. I don't know if he's here with us right now live, but I got to give a shout out to Tetsuya Aito, one of my favorite YouTube names. Tetsuya Aito, he just re-upped as a channel member yesterday. And also shout out to Rudy Salas, who also, he joined as a Sound of Legend channel member. Channel memberships are open, by the way, for those who would like to join. Enjoy some of the perks and the bonus content that members receive. We've got video Q&As. We've got call-in shows that we've done and we will do in the future. We've got watch-alongs. We've done a couple of those. We've got more coming up soon. All that stuff is in the archives. If you miss it live, it's there, but only if you're a channel member. But again, hit that like button. We got a lot to unwrap here. We'll get through SmackDown first. Pat McAfee. I actually wanted to talk about this at the beginning of the SmackDown review because I was going to talk about the fact that Michael Cole, we go from CM Punk to Michael Cole. I know that's quite the come down here, but Michael Cole is celebrating 25 years in WWE. Man, I can still remember when Michael Cole debuted in 97, and I can remember him being in the shower backstage, getting a wedgie from DX. They were abusing him back then. Even then, they were making fun of the poor guy, making his life hell. And in 25 years, Pat McAfee said that Michael Cole only missed 2 shows in WWE history. His entire career, 2 shows he missed. Bret Hart had said that he worked for Vince McMahon for, I think, 14 years, and he only missed about 2 shows. And he got screwed. So if I were Michael Cole, I'd have eyes in the back of my head. But, for all the faults that I have had with Michael Cole's commentary over the years, and I have had a lot, I also at times have given him great praise. Because I do think sometimes, he gets a bad rap. I am willing to look past all of the oh my, and the vintage this and the vintage that, and here comes the big dog, and it's boss time, and all these fucking things that just annoy the shit out of me when it comes to his commentary. And I'm willing to even overlook that god-awful heel turn over a decade ago, okay? I'm willing to overlook all of that and tell you that Michael Cole, I believe, is actually a very good announcer when he is allowed to be. He can be very good at his job. 25 years and a very difficult job. You got a madman in your ear, okay? That can't be easy. Imagine working for Vince McMahon. You're the primary play-by-play guy, and you've got Vince McMahon in your ear at all times. He's yelling at you sometimes. Remember that video that leaked years ago? I think it was from one of the satellite feeds. And it's Cole on commentary, and you can hear him. He's talking to Vince through the headset. He's obviously said something that Vince didn't like, and he was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm sorry, sir." Imagine going through that shit every week. But this guy has somehow, he has stood the test of time, and here he is 25 years later. He's had a longer career at the commentary booth in WWE than Jim Ross, who's the greatest to ever do it, Gorilla Monsoon, right? A lot of these people that I look back on as being my favorites and the best in that company, and Michael Cole has somehow outlasted them all. When I think back to, Cole's career, I was thinking, if I'm going to put the guy over, I should, at least make mention of some of my favorite calls of his or some of the best, Michael Cole calls and matches. I think the one that he'll be most remembered for is one that came very early in his career. 25 years, but I think you take it all the way back to the beginning of 1999. One of the most famous episodes of Raw ever. The night, it was a tape show, but, well, technically taped in 98, but the night that Mick Foley, Mankind, won the very first world championship of his career against The Rock. It was the night that Stone Cold came out, hit The Rock in the head with a chair. Jim Ross was not on commentary that night. Jim Ross had, unfortunately, had a second attack of Bell's palsy weeks earlier. And so Michael Cole was on commentary the night that Mick Foley won his first title. And I've always thought, it sucks that JR wasn't there. You would have gotten one of those classic Jim Ross calls for Foley's first title win. But, I've gone back and I've listened to the commentary, and it's still probably the best sell job that Michael Cole has done in a big situation like that. His commentary was very good that night. Maybe it wasn't at the level of a Jim Ross at that time, but, I thought he did very well. And I do think that will still go down as the call that he's most remembered for, the night that Foley won the title. I also think back to the night that Eddie Guerrero won the WWE Championship for the first time at the Cow Palace against Brock Lesnar. And as Eddie was climbing the ropes to go up for the frog splash, again, Cole on commentary, I thought did a hell of a job. I was in the building, so I didn't listen to it until after I came home, but WrestleMania 30, Daniel Bryan's big night, right? In the WrestleMania main event, he goes over in the triple threat match. He's got Batista in the yes lock. And Cole had this great call at the end of the match. And then when the match was over, he had the line, a miracle on Bourbon Street. One of the better lines that either he came up with or that was fed to him. But I think back to that moment as well. He did an entire UK tournament back, I think in 2017 it was, where it was him and Nigel McGuinness. And there's no way Vince McMahon was in his ear. And it was like night and day. You compare Michael Cole in that tournament to the Michael Cole that you get week to week on TV. It's like two totally different people. That's why I've always said, buried in there is a guy who doesn't really annoy you very much and is actually pretty good. Calling, straight wrestling matches and calling it more like a sport than all the goofy over the top stuff that, he tends to do on TV. It wasn't a match call, but I also think back to the night that Jerry Lawler had his heart attack. And I thought Cole, in the worst possible situation that you could be in, here's his partner, somebody that he considers his friend, and he has no idea if the guy is dead or alive after they cart him off. He's the one who knew something was wrong. He's the one who hit the mute switch on the announce desk and called for help to come get Lawler out of there. He had to go and call almost the rest of the show by himself. And people posting pictures online of him during the matches. And all you see at the commentary desk is one person. You see Michael Cole. He's sitting there. He's got his head in his hands, probably during one of the commercials. And it's like the saddest photo that I've ever seen. I can't imagine, what was going through his mind on that night. I thought he handled it with grace. I thought he handled it very professionally. And when he got the news, from the truck that Jerry was breathing on his own, he was going to be okay that last little bit before the show ended, you could see it in his face. He was like, come on, Jerry, we're rooting for you and everything. That will also go down, I think, as one of the most memorable nights of Michael Cole on commentary. So, the guy, look, he wouldn't be a number one on my list. Jim Ross is a number one. Cole, though, I think does not get the credit that he probably deserves, because there are a lot of moments where it just makes you cringe, and his commentary, can sometimes take away from the show. But then you also realize that he's doing his job. He's doing what he's told to do. Buried within there, I think, is a very good wrestling announcer who has had a very, very good career for himself. 25 years. As the show went along tonight, I was regretting the fact that I was going to put this guy over, and you'll see why as we go along here. But Pat McAfee being added to SmackDown, he breathed new life into Michael Cole, and we have seen a different side of Cole since Pat McAfee was added, a better side of Michael Cole on TV, and I have grown to really enjoy the two of them as a pairing. I think I still probably more of a fan of Michael Cole and Taz. I actually liked them a lot in the early days of SmackDown. McAfee and Cole is the closest thing to Cole and Taz, what we had all those years ago. So anyway, they were on the call tonight. And the show opened with The New Day and Drew McIntyre in the ring. See, shout out to Frost and Darth Panic, some of our channel members here joining us tonight. Welcome, welcome. Those of you who are filing on in, we talked about Punk. We're going to talk about Punk again in a little bit, but we're going to start out with SmackDown so we get this out of the way, and then we'll talk about Rampage, and then we'll get to your messages. So that's the plan for tonight. And then a little bit later on, we did this on Wednesday. We're going to do Tag Team Be the Booker. If you don't know what the hell that is or what I'm talking about, stick around and you'll find out. But the show opened with The New Day and Drew McIntyre in the ring. We actually got a bit of news here in this segment, completely overshadowed by what happened on Rampage. McIntyre started by giving Big E a shout out at home, which I thought was very nice. And he got the crowd in unison to give Big E a chant. They were chanting Big E's name. He says he knows what it's like to be out with an injury and not know what to do with yourself. He said, I've been gone over the last couple of weeks because I was over in the UK. And he broke some news at this point. He says he was calling his shot. And he said that at Clash of the Castle in September, he is going to be challenging for and winning the WWE Undisputed Universal Championship. So it's not exactly a shock that we're going to get Roman Reigns against Drew McIntyre, but it's been all conjecture up to this point. This is the first time on television that anybody has acknowledged the idea that they would even do Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre, and it was Drew just coming flat out and say, even though now it's June, we're talking about September, he's coming out and saying, look, I'm going to challenge for that title in September, and I'm going to win the damn thing. So now we know what the main event is going to be for Clash of the Castle officially. Unless, look, there's always the possibility that they could work out something with Tyson Fury. And they could change course. And they could do Tyson Fury and Drew McIntyre, which would be a big, box office match for them. I personally have no interest in seeing that. It should be Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre. I know Tyson Fury is one of the greatest boxers, and I know he's a big star, especially in that part of the world. I don't have any interest in Tyson Fury against Drew McIntyre. I saw Tyson Fury against Braun Strowman in Saudi Arabia. I don't need to see Tyson Fury in the main event of a major WWE pay-per-view. You want to put him in some kind of attraction, that's fine. The match they should do is Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns. That is the correct match. Ultimately, they'll go with the match they think is going to sell the most amount of tickets. I don't think they're going to have too much trouble once prices start to come down and calm down a little bit, packing in the stadium in Cardiff. Again, they've had a lot of pent-up demand in that part of the world for a major stadium show. Now they're getting it. I know some people were spooked and scared off by the ticket prices at first. Give it some time. Again, those prices are going to continue to drop, and whatever tickets are left, they're going to go like that. I don't think they're going to have any issue selling pretty much whatever allotment of tickets they have left. All of this is moot anyway. Cody Rhodes is the one who's got to go on and win the WWE Championship. The only question is, how do they get there and when? And by the time they get there, are the titles split off? I don't think Cody doesn't give a shit about the Universal title. It's about the WWE title. The title that his father had taken away from him in Madison Square Garden. That's the title that Cody needs to go after. Even more than Drew. Cody is the one, just the story sells itself. Cody is the one who needs to go on and take that title. But again, in Cardiff, it's not going to be Cody and Roman. If anything, it's going to be Drew and Roman. And now we have it official on TV. So after he made this announcement about this big main event at the stadium show in September, we transitioned to comedy with McIntyre and New Day. We got dick jokes. Ha 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 ha, pal. Always love me a good dick joke. Vince McMahon, he there's a very particular kind of humor that Vince McMahon loves. And it shines through on the show sometimes. This was one of those segments. We got some dick jokes. Drew called himself Big D. Xavier Woods asked him about his new t-shirt, which says, "Kneel for the Steel." And again, he was about to make another dick joke, but they cut it off. The joke, not his dick. Kofi presented him with an early birthday gift since Drew's birthday is Monday. And that gift turned out to be a pair of shorts with the name Big D on them. Haha. Sheamus, Ridge Holland, and Butch all came out. Here we go again. Wherever the New Day goes, there's Sheamus and Ridge Holland and Butch. They're like attached at the hip. They're like Siamese twins. They come out. They're now called, officially, they're called the Brawling Brutes. That's the name they've come up with here for this little group. We're still doing this. We're still doing this with these 6. Sheamus started talking, and Butch heard enough. Butch is like, fuck this. He runs down to the ring. He just starts fighting everybody. He starts brawling with everybody. They go to commercial. We come back from break, and wouldn't you know, we have a 6-man tag in process. We have a 6-man tag in progress, too. I don't know why I said process. My brain did not process that the right way. I meant progress, not process. There was a spot late in the match where Ridge Holland was on the floor. Kofi got out on the apron, and he went for a soccer kick. Ridge caught his leg, and the idea was that he was going to yank Kofi off the apron and catch him in a power over his shoulder in a power bomb or a power slam position. So he yanks Kofi off the apron, and he goes to catch him, but he somehow botches it, and he doesn't catch him. And Kofi and he fall backwards, and he falls backwards on top of Kofi. And hopefully Kofi is okay, because Kofi took a pretty hard fall, and this guy fell on top of him. So the whole thing was just completely fucked. You know, if I didn't know any better, I would think Ridge Holland, he's got like some kind of a list, and he's crossing off the names of the New Day members. He's got it out for all the members of the New Day. He's going to take them out one by one. He already took out Big E. Kofi is next. If I'm Woods, I'm watching my back. I don't know what the hell is going on with this guy. Sheamus gave McIntyre a bro kick on the floor. Inside the ring, Butch hit the bitter end on Xavier, and he pinned Woods. Hey, at least Butch got to keep the name of his finishing move. First time he used it on SmackDown some time ago, Pat McAfee had to pretend like he didn't know what the move is called. And so at least they're allowing him to keep the name. Michael Cole specifically called it the bitter end. This needs to end. This needs to end before Kingston and Woods are, laid up in the hospital like Big E was. I don't know what's going on here with Ridge Holland, but for their own safety, they've got to move on from this. Backstage, Adam Pearce was on the phone discussing the 6-pack challenge later tonight with somebody. I would love to know who. Maybe he got a call from a telemarketer, right? I get calls all the time from these telemarketers. I just let it go to voicemail, but maybe he got a call from a telemarketer and he answered it and he decided to just kind of fill them in on everything that's been going on. Always with these officials and these GMs in the middle of the show, they should be working. They should be figuring out, okay, here's what we're going to do in the next segment. Let's do this. Let's focus on that. They're always on the phone. What is with this? If I was on the phone as often as these people are, when I'm in the middle of trying to do my job, I'd have been fired. They're always on the phone. And they're always interrupted, and it's always like, oh, I'll call you back. So they're not even done. As soon as the segment is over, they end up calling these people right back. So he gets interrupted by Max Dupree. That's how you got to say it, right? That's how you say it. That's his new gimmick now. LA Knight, he's now Max Dupree. Sounds like he's saying his name and somebody kicks him in the nuts at just the right moment. Max Dupree. So he walks in and he tells Pearce that he has found the first client of his agency, Maximum Male Models. And Pearce is curious to know, well, who is it? And he says, well, I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to find out next week with the rest of the world. Thus rendering this entire segment pointless, because if he wasn't going to tell him, and thereby us, who the new recruit was, then this was just a waste of my time. We got Humberto of Los Lotharios against Jinder Mahal. Oh boy, just the match I was hoping to see. Jinder Mahal against Humberto. I thought I was watching SmackDown. I didn't know I had Peacock on and I was watching Main Event. But here we go. Humberto against Jinder Mahal. In the gorilla position in the back before the match, Shanky is dancing and Jinder says, no dancing. We're going to go out to the ring. Unlike last week, no dancing this time. So they go out, and of course, Shanky is behind Jinder, and he can't see him. Shanky comes out. Shanky, he's dancing. This is what Shanky's doing when he comes out, right? That's the only dance he knows. That's the Shanky dance, right? He comes out, he's going like that, he's raising the roof or whatever the fuck it is that he's doing. Jinder doesn't see any of this because his back is turned, but then Jinder turns around, and all of a sudden, Shanky, he's just standing up straight, right? No dancing. So they go to the ring. Jinder... Oh, I don't care about this match. Jinder's in there with Humberto. And Jinder tries for the Colossus. But Shanky just starts dancing. He's a dancing fool. And this distracted Jinder. Humberto schoolboy Jinder. Shanky, though, distracted the referee. So many distractions on this show. You notice that? And this won't be the last time you hear me say that word here before I'm done reviewing this show. Up and down the SmackDown show. So many distractions. It's unbelievable how easily distracted these people are. So, Jinder gets schoolboyed. Shanky, though, distracts the referee. That distraction ends up leading to Jinder rolling up Humberto, and he picks up the winner. He picks up the win here in this match. After the match, Shanky, he danced with Samantha Irvin at ringside. Mrs. Ricochet at ringside, and Shanky's out there. I think Jinder left. I think Jinder just disappeared. But there's Shanky, and he's out there. He's doing the dance. You know, he's doing the Shanky dance. And Samantha Irvin has a big smile on her face, and she gets up and she starts dancing. Everybody's dancing. Everybody's dancing. Where's the mosquito? The mosquito's over here. Here, the mosquito's gonna dance with me. Everybody's dancing. Shanky's dancing. This is great. What does he get? $250,000 a year for that so he can dance? He's dancing. They're doing they're doing the whole Viscera Lillian Garcia thing. They're just rehashing that storyline from like 15 years ago. So we'll see what happens now with Jinder because he picked up the win here in this match because of the distraction by Shanky. So now, all of a sudden, we're probably going to end up seeing he can realize, hey, I can use this to my advantage. And we're going to get Jinder Mahal dancing on TV soon. We're going to get Jinder dancing, and we're going to have both of them coming out there every week, and we're going to get the 3-man band version of Jinder. It's going to be the 3MB version of Jinder coming back soon. That's where this probably is going. This show is something, man. This show is something. What that is not very good, but this show is something. Less entertaining Rikishi, says Nathan in the chat. Unbelievable. See, now you got dancing Solomonster to go with the little baby Solomonster that dances at the beginning of the street. So, Ronda Rousey, she was out to sit ringside and she started dancing as well. No, she didn't. She sat ringside to watch the next match, a 6-pack challenge to determine who the number 1 contender would be for the SmackDown Women's Championship. When? They didn't say. Even though we have a pay-per-view in 48 hours, they didn't say. They didn't ever mention Hell in a Cell here. So Ronda's at ringside. We had Raquel Rodriguez, Shayna Baszler, Natalya, Xia Li, Shotzi Blackheart, and it was supposed to be Aliyah, but she didn't come out. They cut to the back, and Aliyah is locked in the women's dressing room. How many fucking times over the last few weeks have they done this now, right? We had, I think it wasn't Aliyah locked in there once before, and then Shotzi locked herself out last week, and so now she's locked in there again. I wish they would take the writers of this show and they would take Vince and Bruce and lock them in a fucking room. Lock the door and throw away the key. Let Shanky book the show. It'll just be the dance-offs up and down the card. We'll have dance-offs all night long. We'll have Walter. Let's have Gunther go out there and he can dance. Every match, right? We'll have the Usos dancing. We'll have Roman Reigns dancing. We'll have Riddle dancing. We'll have Shinsuke dances anyway. Pat McAfee's up on the announce desk. He's always dancing. Michael Cole can dance, right? 25 years. Let's have a celebration. He can start dancing around, right? The crowd will start dancing around. The referees will start dancing around. Adam Pearce can start dancing around. Max Dupree can start dancing around. It'll just be one big fucking dance fest. I don't even know what I was talking about. So Shotzi wanted the referee to start the match, even though Aliyah was not yet out there. She wanted her to, let's go. Let's get this match underway. So apparently Aliyah was let out of the room. Either that or she burrowed her way under the door. So she came down to the ring and she tackled Shotzi. There was a sloppy spot early on where Raquel was supposed to catch Shotzi on a crossbody off the top rope, and she dropped her. She pulled a Ridge Holland here in this match. And after I had just spent all that time here a few minutes ago in this stream giving praise to Michael Cole, right? You heard me say some positive things about Michael Cole a little while ago. Michael Cole referred to Aliyah as Aliyah. Like, what the fuck? How does that even happen? Aliyah? Who says that? I've never heard anybody mention that name in that way. Aliyah? It's almost like the Brooklyn way of calling somebody a liar. Like if you had that Brooklyn accent, like you're a liar, like you're a liar. You're a liar, man. You're a liar. Was he calling her a liar? Did she lie about something? Did she lie about how she got locked in the room in the back? I don't know. So that was fucking weird. Raquel hit the Tejana bomb. Remember, it's no longer the Chingona bomb. We went through this already last week. I think I talked about this on the podcast. It's no longer the Chingona bomb because apparently in Spanish it's used in a very profane way by some people, and it can be, it could come off as basically fuck off. I think that's a fantastic name for a finisher. If I was going to be a wrestler, I would absolutely call my finisher the fuck off. But I guess Fox was not a big fan of it, so now it's the Tejana bomb. So she hit the Tejana bomb on Shotzi and had the match won until Shayna Baszler jumped on her back and she got Raquel in the Karafuda clutch. So while she's trying to choke her out, that gave Natty the opportunity to crawl over on top of Shotzi and pin her to win the six-pack challenge. Natalya is the #1 contender now for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Natalya. We got 5 minutes for a six-pack challenge. 5 minutes. Maybe not even 5 minutes. So ask yourself, how good could the match possibly be? How good of a six-pack challenge can you have when the length of the match in minutes is not even equal to the number of people? It's less than the number of people that are in the match. So no, we got our answer. The answer was not very good. This sucked. But Natty is the #1 contender. At least they protected Raquel. She was protected here in so much as she was made to look strong. She had the match won. She had the victory taken away from her, right? Snatched away from her. That's the best thing I could say about this. Natty and Ronda, this will not be the first time we see them in the ring together. They did wrestle for the Raw Women's Championship many years ago during Ronda's first run with the company. If you remember at that time, they were, on television anyway, they were like best friends. But they did have a match for the Raw Women's title. Now they get to wrestle for the blue belt. That was the red belt. Now they get to wrestle for the blue belt. When? All Michael Cole said is, specifically, I think he said at a later date. So even though we have a pay-per-view on Sunday, and this is clearly just a placeholder match, we know Ronda's going to win. There's no real excitement here to any of this. Why not just do it on Sunday and blow it off? But at a later date, which probably means on television in 2 weeks, we'll get Ronda Rousey against Natalya. It was supposed to be Ronda against Sasha. This ain't Ronda against Sasha. I want to see Ronda against Shayna. That's the match that I want to see. There's a history there. I think that could be a fun match. Similar styles. That's the match I'd like to see. I will say, though, it would make no sense for them to have Shayna win and then just quickly blow that match off. If we are going to get Ronda and Shayna, I would rather they give it a proper build-up. Maybe even put it on an actual major pay-per-view show. And you also don't want to necessarily go right back to Raquel because they've already done that match twice with her and Ronda. Natty winning, in all honesty, was probably the outcome that made the most sense. Because this is just going to be a match. It's just a body for Ronda to beat. This is not going to end up being, I hope, some, long drawn out program. It's a match they can do on television probably in a few weeks, unless they build it up maybe for Money in the Bank at the beginning of next month. And she'll beat Natty and then she'll move on. Maybe she'll move on to Shayna at that point. Maybe we can get Ronda and Shayna at SummerSlam at the end of next month. We got a commercial. Oh boy. Oh boy. We got a commercial about the inspirational Lacey Evans, who is returning next week to SmackDown. Now, if you haven't been paying attention to what's been going on, you might be asking yourself, wait a minute. I thought Lacey was on Raw now. She was on SmackDown. I could have sworn they moved her to Monday Night Raw and they started airing videos for her on Raw, and she actually appeared on Raw recently. She was advertised for Raw this week, even though she wasn't there. They false advertised her for the show, but she was on Raw the previous week. Didn't wrestle. So, yes, Lacey Evans, for those who did not see the news earlier today on PW Insider, Lacey Evans is back on the SmackDown roster now. So, Lacey had about 5 weeks worth of vignettes that aired specifically on SmackDown, hyping her return, promoting her as like the biggest babyface in the world, right? This woman is going to come back and, oh my God, she's being positioned as like the mother of all babyfaces. Then the news came that, I think it was PW Insider, again, Mike Johnson, who said that the working plan is not for her to be a babyface. The plan is for her to be a heel. And you could kind of tell that's the direction they were going in, because when, after all those vignettes, she was finally ready to make her first appearance on SmackDown. They had the ring announcer, I think it was Samantha Irvin, stand in the ring and basically tell people, stand up and clap and applaud and show respect. It was the sort of introduction you would give to a heel. It was like, that's kind of strange. And then she came out and she posed and she waved, but she never wrestled. Then we find out that she was moved inexplicably over to Monday Night Raw, even though it's not like SmackDown couldn't use her. They decided to move her over to Raw. And so now they had to re-educate the Raw audience, and not everybody who watches Raw watches SmackDown and vice versa. You've now got to educate that audience about Lacey Evans coming back and either show the vignettes or have her come out and cut a promo, which is kind of what she did. Although she was kind of rambling on about the same thing over and over again, and it wasn't a very good promo. But then I see that they've moved her back to SmackDown. And I said this on Twitter yesterday. I said, these people have no fucking idea what they're doing. They don't. And then you'll have the couple of morons who go, oh, yeah. They only make $1 billion, as if they don't know what they're doing. And it always drives me nuts when people, the first thing they go to, when you point out some kind of a gap in logic or something stupid creatively or some kind of stupid roster move that WWE makes, and they've made a lot of them, the first argument that people will throw in your face is, well, yeah, they made $1 billion. They made $1 billion. They made $1 billion. They made $1 billion this year. So you don't know what you're talking about, man. They made money, so obviously they must be doing something right. You're a fucking moron. If that's the only argument that you have, sit in the corner and shut the fuck up. One has nothing to do with the other. We're talking about creative issues here. We're talking about creative matters here. What you fail to understand, what these brain-dead morons fail to understand is that, yes, one of the reasons, if not the reason, that they have now shifted her back over to SmackDown probably has to do with Sasha Banks and Naomi walking out. Very possible. Very possible. that has now led to this move, then how do you explain moving her from SmackDown to Raw after 5, 6, 7 weeks, whatever it was, and she appears on SmackDown, and all of a sudden you move her over to Raw? That happened before Sasha and Naomi walked out. How do you explain that? They have no answer. They have no answer. They'll dig around for any reason, just to, well, it's somebody going after WWE, so we have to fight back, right? Vince McMahon would love these people. That campaign from years ago, stand up for WWE, right? These people, they got the fucking hat on. They're ready to, oh, yes, sir. Sir, yes, sir. We're going to stand up for WWE. WWE doesn't stand up for you. Why are you standing up for them? Sit the fuck down. It's stupid. It makes no sense. They have no idea what they're doing with this woman. She's being traded back and forth, like she's a play toy. Like nobody wants her. She's like the runt of the litter. Will this woman ever find a stable home? We've watched weeks of vignettes of this woman talking about her childhood and her father, her abusive father, and what an unstable, home environment she had, and having to flee her home. WWE is basically replicating that with these roster moves now. SmackDown doesn't want her, we'll send her to Raw. Raw doesn't want her, we'll send her to SmackDown. Soon she's going to end up in NXT. We'll get the vignette soon. Lacey Evans is coming to the Nickelodeon zone. She's going to be on NXT soon. She'll be challenging Mandy Rose for the NXT Women's Championship. Maybe she'll be in your house tomorrow night. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. But apparently she's going to be a heel on SmackDown. For now. Until next week when she gets moved back to Raw. Stay tuned. We got a shot of Madcap Moss. KC, you know what, KC? I think you may be right. I'm giving them too much credit by mentioning Raw and NXT. The next move for her may well be the unemployment line. You may be right. We got a shot of Madcap Moss. He was back from the injury that he sustained at the hands of Happy Corbin. They showed him busting out the back of an ambulance. The door swung open, and there he was. And wouldn't you know, the suspenders were gone. The suspenders and the big cheesy smile and the gut-busting laughter and the stupid shorts. He looked like he was walking out of Oktoberfest. It was all gone. He had no shirt on, just the tights, and he looked pissed off. And he stepped out of the ambulance and he came into the arena. He made his way to the ring. Guy looks like $1 million. He's in great shape. But this is exactly what he needed. The whole Madcap thing, that was their way of introducing him to the wider WWE audience. Okay, now, but it's been months and months and months of this shit. This was so far drawn out, it was ridiculous. There was no way this guy was ever going to get over in any fashion, any form or fashion, so long as he was walking around dressed like that, behaving like that. So if anybody was in dire need of a makeover on this show, it was this guy. I've been asking for it. I was hoping that the injury angle they shot was a way to get him off television and sort of repackage him and bring him back without all that nonsense. And outside of the name, because they're still calling him Madcap, which doesn't really, if you look up what it means, I mean, I don't know. That name just doesn't really fit with the way he was acting tonight. But at least his appearance, the presentation of him, is much improved. Even though he walks out there looking like a creator wrestler. I could think of another guy who used to walk out wearing black boots and black trunks, who ended up doing pretty well for himself. We'll see. I'm not saying that that's going to be him, but he's in a much better position now than he was before. That much I know. He got on the mic and he said the old Madcap Moss is dead. He says, I buried him. He's still using, as I said, the Madcap name, but they didn't seem to be calling him Moss. Not too much. So he might be getting the one name treatment soon also. They might be calling him Madcap, and they might just cut the Moss out. The makeover, though, as I said, was badly needed. So he called out Corbin, and Corbin came out, and he thought that Madcap was here because he wanted his old job back. That's why he thought he was here. Moss didn't want his old job back. He wanted a fight. Corbin turned him down. until Adam Pearce walked out. And Adam Pearce said, "You're not going anywhere." He goes, "You guys are going to have a match right now." Michael Cole, at one point during this match, which did not go very long. I call it a match. Honestly, it was more like an angle to set up the real match, which is taking place on Sunday. But at one point in this match, Michael Cole referred to Madcap as Mad Cop. Wasn't there a movie by that? Or am I thinking of Maniac Cop? Maybe I'm thinking of Maniac. It's like an old movie from the 80s, I think, called Maniac Cop. Called him Mad Cop. I take back everything I said about Michael Cole. I put this fucking guy over earlier in the stream. I don't know why. This guy was botching left and right tonight. He doesn't know the names of any of these people. Aliyah, Mad Cop. It's ridiculous. What's wrong with him? Maybe he was celebrating a little too hard. I'll bet you that's what was going on. I'll bet you somebody poured some of that red rum into what they thought was water at the catering table in the back. And Michael Cole was celebrating here his big 25-year anniversary before he went out there. I'm surprised he was able to, stand up straight. He wasn't stumbling all over the place on his way to the ring. Because he was definitely a little off tonight. So like I said, this was more of an angle than anything else. Before the bell, Corbin was trying to avoid him at all costs. Corbin ended up outside the ring, and he grabbed the chair. And Moss was able to take it away from him. He used it on him instead for the disqualification. He took him in the ring, hit him a few more times with the chair, and then he brought the ring steps into the ring. He wrapped the chair around Corbin's neck. So he was setting up to do to Corbin what Corbin did to him when he put him on the shelf a few weeks ago. And he brought the ring steps into the ring. He went to go pick them up when referees ran in to save Corbin from certain doom, and they dragged him out to safety. Later on in the back, Corbin was leaving the building. Adam Pearce walked up to him, and Corbin wanted him to suspend Madcap. He said, "Suspend him? I'm not going to suspend him. In fact, I'm going to put him in the ring with you. Sunday at Hell in a Cell, it's going to be you against Madcap, and it's going to be no holds barred. Anything goes." So the one and only SmackDown match for Hell in a Cell that they announced tonight was Moss against Corbin. Another match that we have seen at least a couple of times now in the past. But that seems to be the story with SmackDown. It's one thing if you have a program that's going pretty well and, the nature of it is you're going to end up having a few matches. AEW tends to go the other way where they don't like doing rematches too often. We get rematches. I mean, we got Young Bucks and Lucha Bros tonight. We've seen that a bunch of times, but generally speaking, they kind of go the other way with it. I think there's a happy medium. The problem is, up and down the card, it's nothing but rematches. It's the same shit that we see all the time. It's the New Day with Sheamus and Holland and how many fucking times have we seen that by now, right? Our main event tonight, we had Riddle and Nakamura against the Usos. We just saw that on Monday. We got it again tonight. And I'm sure we'll get something with Riddle and the Usos again next week. He'll face one Uso. The week after that, he'll face the other Uso. And around we go. That's the problem. Up and down the card, it's nothing but the same shit. Over and over and over again. And half that shit isn't interesting in the first place. That's one of the big problems now with SmackDown. Not the only problem, but it is one of the problems with this show. So anyway, they finally remembered that they had two brands instead of one, and now SmackDown has a match on Sunday. They announced Ricochet. Why did I say it that way? I sound like Michael Cole now. They had Ricochet. That's going to do my best Michael Cole impression here. Ricochet is going to defend his Intercontinental Championship against Gunther. Not on Sunday. He's going to defend it on Friday next week on SmackDown. So say goodbye. Wave goodbye, everybody, to Ricochet and his reign as the Intercontinental Champion. Let's do a dance. This is the last week that Ricochet is going to be the champion. Main event was the Usos against Riddle and Nakamura for the Undisputed WWE Tag Team Championship. Instead of holding off for Hell in a Cell, they gave it to us tonight. After we got it for the first time non-title on Monday, that match ended on a disqualification when Jimmy Uso... Oh, thank goodness. A nice interruption. I will always stop and acknowledge, I don't acknowledge Roman Reigns. I don't acknowledge too many people. But I acknowledge JM when he drops one of his super chats, especially when it's Bully the Clown. We all have to stop and admire the fuck Bully Ray chants. So thank you, JM. Anyway, Jimmy hit Riddle on Monday with Riddle's own scooter. So we got a DQ, which led to the title match tonight. Usos took out Nakamura with a knee injury when he went to go deliver a knee to Jimmy Uso against the ring steps outside. Jimmy moved out of the way. Nakamura smacked the ring steps, and he was selling a knee injury. He had to be taken to the trainer's room in the back. So when we came back from the final break, it was 2-on-1. Handicap match, Usos against Matt Riddle. Riddle made a comeback. He hit all the big Randy Orton spots, the snap power slam, the draping DDT. He went for the RKO, but Jay distracted him. There's that word again. Jimmy hit a sloppy-looking pop-up Samoan drop. Riddle kicked out. Jimmy went up for the splash. Riddle cut him off on top, though. He was setting up for a super RKO when all of a sudden we heard Roman Reigns' theme music. Oh my God, he showed up for work, only he didn't. No Roman Reigns. They cut to the back and we see Sami Zayn is in the truck. He's accosting the production staff and he is forcing them to play Roman Reigns' theme song. Sami Zayn, the honorary member of the Bloodline. Trying to give the Usos the assist here. Riddle went and hit the super RKO to Jimmy anyway, but he never saw the blind tag. Jay reached up and blind tagged Jimmy. Riddle didn't see that. And so after Riddle came off the top and hit the RKO, Jay came off the top. He hit the Samoan splash, and he got the 3 count to retain the titles. So, again, no Roman Reigns. It was a distraction from Sami Zayn, who came out to celebrate with the Usos. Riddle went after them in the aisle. He had to be pulled away from them as he was screaming, "You don't get to take Randy away from me." He was practically in tears as they went off the air. He seemed pretty upset. Not as upset as I was, though, when I realized I had wasted 2 hours of my life watching this show. We have a pay-per-view on Sunday, and not a lot of representation for the show, clearly. I think that tells you a lot about the state of the show right now without Roman Reigns on there. And frankly, we're at a point now with SmackDown where even if Roman Reigns was on the show tonight, it wouldn't have made a difference. I can't even sit here and tell you that, Roman, let's say Roman's back next week. Oh, Roman, he's here to save the show. He can't. He can't. Right now, there's no saving this show because this show is devoid of anything really interesting. Now, I am hopeful that Walter will win the Intercontinental Championship next week. It's the right move, right? What does it mean, though? I have been duped so many times in the past into thinking that, oh wow, they're going to focus on the Intercontinental title. Maybe we'll see more defenses on TV. They could build more storylines, interesting storylines around the Intercontinental title, especially now that Roman is not on these shows. He's not going to be on every show. So Gunther will go in there, he'll win the championship, but then what does it really mean? What does it really mean? You need a strong supporting cast and good stories. In order for it to really mean something, it means nothing. It means nothing. I could point to little things like that. If they do that, like, okay, that's a good move. We'll see if they actually do it. But even if Roman Reigns is on the show, this show is in really rough shape right now. There's just nothing interesting about it. Nothing. It's a completely different vibe than what you got watching that Dynamite show on Wednesday. I mean, you compare the two shows and just the energy, and there's so many different things that are going on there. Obviously, everybody was talking about the MJF promo, but so many different things going on. They're almost in the they're not even almost. They're completely in the opposite direction. Whereas SmackDown feels like it has no depth. AEW has too much depth to where people who need to be on television are not able to find the time to be on television. But my God, especially this week of all weeks, you compare the two shows and it's like night and day. But SmackDown has fallen quite a bit from where it used to be. And we're at a point now where, again, I don't even think Roman Reigns showing up, Roman and Paul Heyman and the entire bloodline being there, is really not going to make much of a difference. Sucks. It sucks. And we'll see what happens with Nakamura now if they did the injury angle with him because they want to run the match back again at Money in the Bank. Because now it looks like Roman may not even be on that pay-per-view. He might not even be on the Money in the Bank show. There was talk maybe it would be Roman and Riddle for the championship there, and then Roman and Randy Orton at SummerSlam later in the month. They could still do that. But they have taken Roman off the advertising for the show, and watching what they did here makes me wonder if they only took Nakamura out of the match this way so that eventually we'll get the full match, and if they might save that for Money in the Bank. Guess it doesn't matter now since they moved that show from the big stadium to the smaller building. Maybe they feel like, you know what? We're not in a stadium anymore. We don't need Roman Reigns on the show. We'll save him for SummerSlam. We'll just take him off the show. It's in his new contract. It's in his new contract. He can only work stadiums. Over on TNT, Rampage was live. It opened with the Young Bucks and the Lucha Bros already in the ring. You know, you talk about the energy. I use Dynamite as an example. I could have just used tonight's Rampage show, frankly, as an example. The way this show opened up. I mean, you can't find a more different, I think, night to compare these two shows. From what we saw on SmackDown to how this show opened up, even the Punk announcement, you know, was very newsworthy. It was sad that it had to happen, but you know, in terms of newsworthiness and just in terms of action and in terms of overall entertainment, you know, Rampage blew SmackDown out of the water tonight. And a lot of it had to do here with this opening match between the Young Bucks and the Lucha Bros. They said the Young Bucks were wrestling their first match here in their hometown in an AEW ring. The two teams here who were in my match of the year last year. I believe that was the match I went with for my match of the year, was the cage match at All Out. One of the greatest cage matches that I've ever seen between the Young Bucks and the Lucha Bros for the AEW Tag Team titles. A fantastic match, just a tremendous cage match. They put together a match here on this show. I don't want to say it was better, but it rivaled that match. They put on a hell of a match here tonight. And I believe this was only the second time these two teams have wrestled each other in a match where there were no championships on the line. It would be impossible for me to sit here and recap everything that happened in this match, and so I'm not going to bother. All I'm going to tell you is that if you are the kind of person who does not like the typical Young Bucks match, where it's constant motion, it's you know, like a spot fest, and they're going for all the high spots, and they're trying to get all their shit in. And look, the Lucha Bros, I don't want to just put this on the Bucks. It's the same kind of match that Penta and Rey Fenix do as well. If you don't like that kind of wrestling, skip this match. But I think if you can appreciate what these two teams bring to the table, go out of your way to watch this match. This opening 15 minutes here, this will go down as one of the best matches in Rampage history. Rampage isn't even a year old yet. It won't be a year until August. But in the short history of Rampage, this will be up there probably as one of the top 3 matches. Top 5 for sure in the history of the show. Non-stop action, just a wild match here. And I don't even know where to begin. I was going to highlight some of the key spots here in this match. What I'll tell you is that at the end here, Penta was taunting Matt Jackson after he broke up a close near fall. The Bucks had hit the Meltzer driver. Actually, what happened here is Penta was late. I think that's what happened. Penta was late to break up the fall off the Meltzer driver, and so Phoenix kind of had to get a shoulder up and kick out of it. But Penta was taunting Matt Jackson, and so Matt Jackson reached up, and he yanked Penta's mask right off his face. Now, in the match they had in the cage at All Out last year, I don't remember them ripping the mask off, but they were ripping at the masks, I think, for Penta and Phoenix. Here, he just reached up, grabbed the mask, and just tore it right off his head. And Penta immediately reached up and covered his face. Can't show his identity. So he couldn't defend himself because all he could do was keep his hands over his face. And the Bucks, kicked him and knocked him down. And they hit the BTE trigger on Rey Fenix, and Matt Jackson picked up the pinfall. Crowd loved every second of it. Not really a surprise, given that they were in the Bucks' hometown. You knew they would, get over pretty big. But kudos to both these teams. I mean, this was, from the moment that the bell rang and the show started, this is as hot of a way to open a show as I could think of. You want to keep people's attention. I mean, this is how you open a show. I don't always enjoy these matches because there's just too much going on sometimes. Usually when you're having like an 8-man tag or a 10-man tag, or sometimes they've done 12-man tags in AEW, there's too many things going on. There's too many arms and legs and, big dives and spots. And I actually don't really like that, but this I enjoyed. I thought this was tremendous stuff here. Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs, they beat the hell out of two nameless men whose names I didn't catch, and it doesn't matter because they may as well have been two crash test dummies. They got beat in 45 seconds. Squashed. Done. On to the next. We had the in-ring AEW debut of Athena. Very excited to finally see Ember Moon on her way to AEW. It took long enough. I couldn't understand why it was taking so long. Now she's here. She stepped into the ring against Kiera Hogan. Came out to the ring with Jade Cargill, Red Velvet, and Stokely Hathaway. Someone else who I'm very excited to see on my television screen. He is now the publicist for Jade Cargill, is Stokely. Athena came out. She had wings on the back of her jacket that looked like blades. At first I was looking, I wasn't exactly sure what they were. They looked like wings, but when I looked at them closer, they looked like blades, like some kind of horror villain that you would see. She had a button in her hand that she pushed, and all the wings retracted. I thought that was kind of cool. It's possible she was dressed up as maybe some kind of a comic character or something. I know she's into all sorts of, stuff like that. But Hogan came off the ropes for a crossbody, got caught by Athena, who went to go slam her down, and Hogan turned it into an arm drag. There was a springboard crossbody by Athena. Kiera Hogan quickly bailed out to the floor. She was out there talking to Stokely Hathaway, and Athena went for a dive, faked her out. She stopped herself, but then she went and she took Hogan out anyway. Red Velvet swept Athena's legs out from under her as she was about to attempt some kind of move from the apron into the ring. And then she rolled Athena back inside. Kiera Hogan took control at that point, hitting into a picture-in-picture break. It came back for, is that what it was? Okay. I see, I knew that was some play off of a comic book character. And apparently, was it Archangel? It might have been Archangel. I don't know. From X-Men? Well, I don't know if that's official, but I'm sure it was based off some character. It looked cool. Regardless, it looked cool. So they came back from break. Athena was quickly back in control. She hit a hell of a shotgun dropkick. And she went up top to go try something. Red Velvet again tried to get involved. Hogan yanked her off the top rope. But in the end, she hit the Eclipse. I didn't catch if they're giving it a different name. I guess they're going to have to in this company. But she hit the Eclipse, which is a very dangerous move to pull off. And I think that if she continues to use it, that she will have very bad hip problems later in her career. But it's a fucking great finish. And I miss seeing her hit that move. She hit the move to Hogan. It looked great. I thought Athena looked fantastic in this match. I thought she looked... And look, Kiera Hogan, she held up her end of the bargain too. But this was really meant to be a showcase for Athena. And I thought she knocked it out of the park. I thought she looked great. Sometimes some of the women, they could look a little tentative. Especially if they're not as experienced as she is. I mean, Athena's been doing this for at least 15 years. I mean, she's not a rookie at this. I thought she looked great. So she's going to be a great addition to that women's division. CM Punk was out next. For those tuning in late, I'm not going to recap every little thing because I talked about it at the beginning of the stream, but CM Punk unfortunately came out tonight to make the announcement that he is injured. He has what appears to be a broken foot. He had tears in his eyes. We could tell before he even said a word that he was not out here tonight to deliver good news. And it wasn't good news. He's hurt. He needs surgery. He's going to be gone for a while. He didn't want to hold things up as far as, kind of holding the championship hostage. Tony Khan, though, didn't want him to give up the title. There was a lot of confusion coming out of this segment. It was not made entirely clear whether or not Punk had actually relinquished the AEW World title. And we were informed later on by Excalibur that he has not relinquished the title. Punk is still technically the AEW World Champion. He is going to be out for a while. We don't know the extent of the injury. We don't have all the details. But they're going to crown an interim AEW champion, very similar to what they did with the TNT title. That was incredibly stupid because if you remember when they did that with the TNT title, Cody, I'm trying to remember, was Cody the champion or Sammy? I think Cody was the champion. Cody missed a week. It was like a week of television that he missed. And they crowned an interim champion. If Cody was going to be gone for a couple of months, I could understand it. He was gone for 1 week. There was no need to crown an interim champion other than they wanted to do that ladder match, which turned out to be a great match. But it was stupid. It was very stupid. It made very little sense. So now they're going to do the interim thing again. At least this time, Punk, it sounds like he'll probably be gone for a while. So the plan is they're going to do a battle royal to open up Dynamite on Wednesday. The winner of that battle royal will wrestle Jon Moxley at the end of the show. And the winner of that match will go on to Forbidden Door to challenge Hiroshi Tanahashi to determine an interim AEW World Champion. So that person will be the interim champion, and when Punk is ready to come back, we're going to have champion against champion to crown an undisputed AEW World Champion. It sucks. The timing of this could not be worse. I feel bad for Punk. I was looking forward to him and Tanahashi. That was a major match that they only just announced on Wednesday, and already that match is out the window. The good news, though, I guess, is that if it was going to happen, I mean, look, better for it to happen now than a week before Forbidden Door. Now they have enough time. They have weeks to come up with a plan B and promote it. So in a way, the timing is better than it would have been if he got hurt later on closer to the show. I think that Jon Moxley winning his match against the Battle Royal winner and going on to challenge Tanahashi, it just story-wise makes perfect sense because he's been dying to get his singles match with Tanahashi. Now he can. And it just so happens it could be for the AEW World title. Remember, Tanahashi was the first person who even coined the phrase Forbidden Door. He was the first person to say those words. It was a couple of years ago, and he said he was going to challenge, I think, Chris Jericho at the time at Wrestle Kingdom, which he did. He was going to challenge for the AEW World title and take that title back to New Japan, which he didn't do. Tanahashi now could have the chance to do just that. But you could go with Moxley. You could go with Hangman and put the belt back on him until Punk is ready to come back, and then they meet again. The other idea that I pitched earlier, MJF is the wild card in all this. Whatever they have planned with this angle now with MJF, do they break from those plans? Do they readjust in light of this news and go in a different direction and figure out a way, have MJF enter himself into the Battle Royal next week, win the Battle Royal, beat Moxley, challenge Tanahashi, and become the interim AEW World Champion? If you want to get people talking about your product, you go with MJF as the new interim AEW World Champion. It's not the way that I would have envisioned the story going of MJF winning his first title. It's not the perfect fantasy scenario, but I do think that right now, MJF, after this week, is the hottest thing in wrestling. He is the guy more than any other that people are talking about and will continue to talk about. So if you want to maximize that, no pun intended, you put the title on Max. And you let him run with that. You let him go out there and cut those promos that, only he can cut. He'll make that championship feel like the most important thing in the world, which frankly is what the championship should be like. It should be positioned as and talked about as the most important thing in the world. You put your top title on your top guy. When Punk is ready to come back, You've got that third and final match between him and MJF to crown an undisputed champion. And then Tony Khan is going to have to figure out, okay, what do we do here? Do we have Punk beat MJF again? Because Punk's going to want to have that run that he was deprived of. Or do you turn around to Punk and say, sorry, now it's MJF's time. Sorry you didn't get your run. That's the conundrum. But I almost feel like it would be too good of an opportunity to pass up if you're Tony Khan. But Wednesday we'll find out who's going on to Forbidden Door to challenge for the championship. Scorpio Sky against Dante Martin for the TNT title was the main event. I didn't give two shits about this match, unfortunately. From what I saw of it, it wasn't a bad match, but nobody cared. They should have ended the show with the Punk announcement. Then we would have gone off the air with mass confusion. At least in this final segment here, they were able to have Excalibur sort of clean it up and explain exactly what was going on here. But they really should have ended with the Punk stuff. I think it just took the wind out of people's sails. And I really think people were they were so focused on what they had just heard that they weren't paying much attention to, I know I wasn't paying much attention to this match. Dante hit a crossbody off the top for a near fall. Scorpio hit Martin with a hot shot. And then he got the TKO, which is his finish, for the win. He came up limping after the pin. He was favoring his leg. It may have been his foot or his ankle. I hope he was just selling. Can you imagine? Another foot injury. So I hope he's okay. But Scorpio Sky there's another champion, no less. Imagine that. CM Punk breaks his foot and has to step away. So now we're going to have an interim world champion. We don't need Scorpio Sky to be coming out on TV next week limping around saying, well, I injured my foot. We're going to have another interim TNT champion too. But poor Dante Martin. This was supposed to be a big night for him. And even on commentary, even the commentators were not even paying attention to this kid and to his big opportunity here in this match, because Excalibur had to very quickly explain to the fans who were wondering what the hell is going on with Punk in the title. And he's being fed this by Tony Khan live in real time, and he had to just explain the whole thing on Dynamite next week. Yeah, meanwhile, Dante Martin is challenging for the second most important championship, supposedly, in the entire company, which I think is arguable. I think that's arguable. You got the AEW title. I don't think I would consider the TNT title to be the second most sought after or second most prestigious title in the company. I think that would be the tag team titles. And then maybe TNT title number 3. But anyway, that was Rampage, a very eventful, newsworthy episode of Rampage with the Punk announcement. But that opening match and the Athena match, those two things alone made this a strong thumbs up show tonight. Let's take a look at the polls here. We'll start with SmackDown. 17% thumbs down. A well-deserved score. The show just wasn't good. It just was not very good at all. And I would say, it's not the kind of thing you want to see going into a pay-per-view, but I mean, it's really more of a Raw pay-per-view than it is a SmackDown pay-per-view. So I guess maybe it doesn't really even matter. Compare that to the Rampage score, 71% thumbs up, 16% thumbs in the middle, and 12% thumbs down. You can vote in these polls right now at Solomonster on Twitter is the place to go. You guys know that. You guys know the drill. Let's, actually, before we get to your super chats, I did want to mention this. Tomorrow night, NXT is having not a takeover. Takeovers are dead. But they're having NXT in your house. I always love that logo. I'm an in your house guy. The whole new generation era. That was me in my, my younger years. So I will always have a soft spot for in your house. But it's NXT in your house with Braun Breaker defending the NXT Championship in the main event against Joe Gacy. I am undecided if I'm going to be going live tomorrow night. I would just as soon, honestly, put the vote to you guys. I mean, is it even worth it for me to go live after that show? Because otherwise, I'm just going to review it on the podcast on Sunday. I mean, I'm doing a podcast the next day. So I will decide tomorrow if I am going to go live after In Your House. Again, I am undecided right now, but I will absolutely be live, no matter what, on Sunday night. As soon as Hell in a Cell goes off the air, got another pay-per-view, back-to-back pay-per-view weekends. At least this one I know we're not going to be going live after midnight. I can promise you that. We'll be going live a lot earlier than we did last Sunday. But yeah, I will be live on Sunday night for Hell in a Cell. I've got some very interesting predictions too, especially on that Cody Rhodes match and what I think is going to happen there at the end of the match. But I will save those predictions for episode 759 of the podcast. That'll be dropping on Sunday. So you guys are going to get 2 podcasts this weekend. I hope you appreciate it. I hope you tune in. Let's see what you guys thought of these shows tonight. If you've got comments, questions about the Punk and AEW title situation, if you have predictions or questions about Hell in a Cell on Sunday, you can send them on in, and I will read your messages here. Beginning with our boy, Jay Baker. Marcus wants to know why Cody looks weird in the poster for Hell in a Cell. Yeah, I mean, I guess he does look a little weird, doesn't he? Let me put it back on screen here. Yeah, you know, it looks like he's trying to squeeze one out. Now that you mention it, wasn't really paying that close attention to it, but when you stare at him, it looks like, you know, he's trying to squeeze one out, but it just won't come out. Look, I know that feeling. You know, you can buy stuff over the counter for that. Poor Cody. It must have been something that he ate. But hey, look, he gets top billing in the poster. He's still getting pushed like a big deal. You know, when you get the solo treatment on the poster, you know that they're putting their full effort behind you. So I guess the question is, how long is that going to last? It remains to be seen. Let's get some music going on here. Jay Baker, $4.99 super chat. With Punk gone, AEW title tournament, MJF wins and drops it to Punk when he returns. The question is, who will be the face and who will be the heel at that time? When Punk comes back, he's going to be a babyface. Because now the whole story is Punk is this comeback story and all that. He can't be a heel. I think longer term, what I would have envisioned is when MJF eventually got to Punk, is that Punk could potentially be the heel at that point. MJF would be more of a tweener. But, if they end up doing the match a lot sooner, if Punk is coming back from an injury, he's not going to be a heel. He's going to be a total babyface. People are going to want to see him get the championship back. It's a babyface story. I'd be very surprised if he was anything but that. Food Hive. $4.99. It's MJF's time. Strike while the iron is hot. It's unfortunate Punk got hurt, but opportunity now unfolds for MJF to be the guy faster than anticipated. It is funny how life works out sometimes, isn't it? This whole situation with MJF and people not knowing, what's real and what's not. Probably were some very real frustrations there, and they hashed it out. They come up with this angle. It did the best numbers of any segment on the show on Wednesday. It had everybody talking on social media. The whole wrestling world talking about MJF. What's real and what's not. What are they going to do next? Where's he going to show up? And then this just sort of falls in their lap, and that's what I mean. It's almost too good to pass up. Just imagine. MJF goes into Forbidden Door. He beats Tanahashi. He wins the AEW World Championship. And he shoves it right in Tony Khan's face. And he does that every single week. I think what would happen probably is he would end up getting over as a babyface, is what would happen. And he would have to fight very hard probably to make sure that doesn't happen. But again, having him straddle that line and be something of a tweener, I don't want to see MJF right now as a full-on babyface. I mean, maybe down the road years from now, but now is not the time, but he can be that guy who's in the middle who's going to get cheered by a certain segment of the audience. But you put that title on him, and we could be in for a very fun summer. You know, if I'm Tony Khan, it's a hard thing to resist, you know, putting the title on anybody else. Joseph Brooks, was 2015 to 2016 the New Day's best years in WWE? Probably. I would say even into 2017, they had that great Hell in a Cell match with the Usos. One of their many, 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 many battles. But that was probably, I would say that was probably peak New Day as a unit. Hey, JM just dropped $50 here on the stream. JM, after the Bully Ray super chat, that was a 30 spot. He comes back with a 50. JM, you rock. You rock, brother. I'm going to be getting to your messages here in a second. Lakers Pat says Eddie Kingston or QT Marshall for AEW champion. Eddie Kingston is an interesting one. Could this be a situation where maybe... See, I didn't see Eddie Kingston getting the AEW world title at any point. TNT title, maybe, not the world title. There's an argument to be made, but timing-wise, it just doesn't work out. Timing-wise, he's heading for Blood and Guts with Jericho's group. I think you keep the focus on Blood and Guts. They have enough people at the top of the card, higher up on the food chain than Eddie Kingston, who can easily be slotted in there against Tanahashi. So I don't think that works for Eddie Kingston. Little Alien Boy, 1999 Super Chat. With everything going on with MJF, I was sure they were playing the Summer of Max and having him hold the belt hostage until 2024 after taking it in 2023. This might be a bump, but only adds fuel to MJF's fire, in my opinion. I agree. Sometimes you have to strike while the iron is hot. And I think this probably is one of those situations. They have some good options, but none that are more interesting to me than MJF. That promo he cut on Wednesday, you know, he set that whole fucking company ablaze. And he set the stage for what was going to be a very interesting summer. This only adds to that. Now you're taking the world championship. The guy got powerbombed 10 times by Wardlow. And now all of a sudden could be in a position to become the AEW world champion. Not Wardlow, but MJF. How does Wardlow fit into all this? Wouldn't Wardlow then have a stake in saying, hey, if Max wins that title, I beat you once, I can beat you again? Do you build to MJF and Wardlow it all out for the championship? I mean, there's so many different ways that you could go with this. But I actually think it would be a mistake to continue things right now between MJF and Wardlow. I think MJF has crossed over now after that promo and after this weekend into a different level. Where if you went back to him and Wardlow, I wouldn't do that right now. I think that might actually work against Wardlow. I think people might turn on Wardlow because now they want to, you know, they're into what this guy's doing. I actually think that could work against Wardlow. I would keep the two of them apart. Quintus Brown. Great Rampage, but I feel terrible for Punk. As do I. I see people in the IWC are happy that he is injured. Hate him or not, you should not be happy for any wrestler getting hurt. Effing disgusting. Well, I haven't seen that. Again, I just came live on here as soon as the shows were over tonight. If there are people on social media who are celebrating anybody being injured, but if they're celebrating CM Punk being injured, then they're a fucking asshole. You are a fucking shitty human being. You are not a real fan. You are an imbecile, and those people are not to be taken seriously. You're always going to have clowns and trolls out there. The best thing to do is to just not give them oxygen. I actually there was an expression that CM Punk used. At the media scrum, he was asked about Eric Bischoff after Tony Khan calmed down after his rant that he went on. And Punk, and I like this phrase that he used, these people, you just got to let them die in the dark. Meaning, basically, if you ignore them, nobody will pay attention to them and they'll go away. You let them die in the dark and pay them no mind. These people are not to be taken seriously. And block them and move on. Shin Akumai was Malachi Black. I think he meant I wish Malachi Black was in the AEW Championship conversation. I do too, but he is definitely not going to be anywhere near that title anytime soon. Luis Belmont Show. A homeless encampment almost lit a freight train on fire. What? It says, luckily no one is hurt. Saw it with my own eyes. This was out in Compton. Well, I appreciate the news update. I'm glad that you weren't hurt and that nobody was hurt. But I'm not sure what that has to do with any of this. Marcus Metcalf, Hiroshi Tanahashi wins the Battle Royal and faces Moxley. Tanahashi wins the Battle Royal and faces Moxley, but that seems to be the reverse of how they're doing this. So I think Moxley faces someone, and more likely he would win, and then he would face Tanahashi. Tanahashi's already he's going to be waiting. He's on the other side of the door. He's just waiting to find out who his opponent is going to be. He doesn't have to be in the Battle Royal. Dick the Cock Johnson. Luther should win the Battle Royal and beat Moxley and then win the title. Food Hive. This opening song is a bop. What was it? It's down in the description. Armchair Critic. Have you seen Hogan talk about his T5 wrestlers ever? Oh, his top 5. I thought he was turning into like a Terminator or something. I've heard of the T1000. I've never heard of the T5. I just tagged you with the link on Twitter. Would like to hear your thoughts if you find it interesting. I have not seen it. My Twitter replies tonight are out of control, and I have not checked them yet. But I will check. Hopefully it'll still be there. I'll check it later on. I've not heard about this. The Coog 97. Solomonster just left the arena. Great Rampage. Lucha Bros and Bucks. Pure magic. Punk stunned the arena. Place was epic loud. My first AEW show was worth it. Yeah, that would have been quite the match, I would imagine, to be there live for. So I'm glad you had fun. Del Fuego. For MJF to enter the Battle Royal, have him come through the crowd, attack somebody, and take their spot a la Edge in the Elimination Chamber. What say you? Oh, I think it's way more likely that he would just come in at the very end. You know, somebody could win and then he sneaks in, or when there's 2 people left, he sneaks in and dumps them both out. MJF does not have to be wrestling in the Battle Royal. MJF does not have to be doing Shawn Michaels save spots where he's skinning the cat and trying to hold on. That's the wrong way. That'd be the wrong way to do it. You have a Battle Royal, he comes in right at the very end. Sneaks in there, steals the win. Then comes out later and has an actual match with Moxley. But if he's going to be in that Battle Royal and win it, he needs to be in there at the very end and do very little. Show up and eliminate somebody. That's it. That's all he needs to do. No entrance, no music, nothing. Because remember, he's been removed from the television intros. His merch is pulled. They're trying to erase this man. So he's not going to come out there with a full entrance. He's not going to come out there to music. They're not going to put a live mic in his hand. He's going to show up. He's got to show up on his own. Sneak in. Once he wins, there's nothing Tony could do. Right? Because technically he's still under contract. There's a way to do it. There's a right way and there's a wrong way to do it. Rizzo, $10 super chat. It seems that WWE has given up on SmackDown, or at the very least, the brand split. Once again, I only watch the pay-per-view. Sorry, I mean premium live events. Yeah, you know what? I think they know they're going to get a certain number of people to tune into these shows no matter what. If this is maximum effort from WWE, it's pathetic. They're putting in the bare minimum effort. They're just... It's not there. You know, the fire that was once there, the creativity that was once there, it's just not there. Anderson Blitz, SmackDown Rampage episodes on my 22nd birthday. Happy birthday to Anderson Blitz. Yes, indeed. Jason Doring, Kenny Omega Battle Royal winner. I don't think he's swerving us. I don't think he's swerving us. It would be great. He'd be a great person to slip in there. It'd be a nice surprise, but I don't think he's going to physically be ready. Rodimus Prime. What's going on, Rodimus? Wild times in AEW right now. Sucks that Punk is injured. Wishing a speedy recovery. Corbin against Moss at Hell in a Cell. And to that, he says, yawn. You and me both. Jake Finn, $5 super chat. I knew right away that CM Punk was injured after the crowd jump. If you look back, you can see it in his face that he knew he messed up. I saw the same thing. When he was limping down the aisle with FTR, you could see it on his face. Like he knew. Now, I didn't know the extent of the injury. I just thought, okay, he dinged his foot and he realized, oh, I shouldn't have done that. You're absolutely right. You go back and watch that, you could see it on his face. He knew he fucked up. DHV Smoking Trees, hypothetical question. If WWE gave Solo Sikoa a heel run and started calling him the Monster Solo, could you send them a cease and desist? No, I like Solo Sikoa. I would not do anything to screw up this man's career. I'll let WWE do that. I like Solo Sikoa. I think he's gonna be one of their stars. I think it'll work out well for him too. He's got that Anoa'i connection. He's part of the bloodline. He's good, right? Some people 50-50 whether or not they're going to succeed or not. Solo Sikoa, all he has to do is not fuck up, and he's going to do just fine. He's going to be just fine. He's got that bloodline connection. Derek Fleming Jr. Should they pull the trigger on Bryan and Okada now? Bryan says he only has a few more years left. Also, how much do you want the Globe title? How much do you want for the Globe title? The Globe title? You mean the big gold? The big eagle? No, that's not for sale, man. These right here. This is my collection. This has sentimental value. Bryan and Okada is the match that I wanted to see. We might not be getting it on this show. But then again, if we're not getting... Well, now we're not getting Okada and Punk. We know that. You know, it's tough to say how this situation changes the rest of the card. We just don't know yet. Bryan and Okada is the match that I would love to see. Maybe they want to save it for another event. Maybe they want to save it for like a Wrestle Kingdom or something. Do it in Japan. New Japan is going to want some of these matches for themselves. But Bryan and Okada, man, that's got to be the match. At some point, we've got to get Bryan in there with Okada. Jose Cordova dropping some love. Thank you, Jose. King Bling Blah Battle Royal. Omega, Darby, Wardlow, Danielson. Danielson is a possibility, but probably unlikely for the Battle Royal winner. Omega, again, I take him at his word that he's not physically ready yet. So, no Omega, no Darby. Probably no Wardlow. Because then Wardlow has to win. And Wardlow winning the Battle Royal and then losing to Moxley, it wouldn't be a death knell for him or anything, you know, especially he's wrestled the Battle Royal already that night. If he takes Moxley to the limit and falls short, but has a good match, it's not the end of the world for Wardlow. I could see Wardlow as a Battle Royal winner, but I still think in that situation, it's Moxley going to the pay-per-view to wrestle Tanahashi. Rizzo, I think WWE has broken Solomonster. I probably danced more on this stream tonight than I've danced in my entire fucking life. You like the shanky, right? The shanky. Easiest dance in the world to do. Requires no skill. Requires no rhythm. KD with the $10 super chat. Nobody called out MJF no-selling 10 power bombs. After being wheeled away on Sunday on a stretcher and Wednesday he's totally fine, which negated Wardlow's offense. Totally stupid. Well, that's wrestling for you in 2022. How many injury angles do we even see anymore in any company where somebody will get hurt or like you said, whether it's 10 power bombs or they take some kind of a big finish or something, and then they're just back on TV the very next night or the very next week. You know, logically, MJF should have been off the show for weeks. I mean, if you think about it, the big payoff finally to this feud, right? Wardlow gets this big win. And he powerbombs MJF. He gets stretchered out. We should not have seen MJF on television for at least a month. And I get why Tony Khan sent him out. I get why they did not want to do that. Because they wanted to capitalize on all of the talk about MJF. And if he just goes away for a month or two, all of a sudden it dies down and it goes away. All that buzz just disappears. Now all of a sudden, with Punk news, it's a good thing they put him back on TV on Wednesday. Because now they could really capitalize on this. It's all about timing. But yes, I agree. He should not have even been on the show. He should have been held off the show for at least a week. I would have held him off even longer than that. Dr. Scorpio, Bruce must have watched Be the Booker and saw that we got Natalya against Ronda and thought that was a good idea, so let's book it. Not looking forward to this match. That's right. I think I did book that, didn't I? In one of the Be the Booker segments. I think I did. I completely forgotten about that. I booked the match before they did. I hope I'm not responsible. Sean Waters with the $10 super chat. What's going on, Sean? I don't know if you remember me tweeting asking if I should go to Hell in a Cell or Forbidden Door and decided that it will be Forbidden Door. And thank you for your input. So glad I am skipping Hell in a Cell for Forbidden Door. Well, that just seemed like a logical answer to give you. You're welcome. If I had told you to go to Hell in a Cell, I would have felt really bad about myself. I would have felt awful. I would have apologized to you. I think you made the right move. Quintus Brown. Besides MJF, I would like to see either Mox, Hangman, or Adam Cole be the interim champion. No, I don't think Adam Cole in this situation is the right person. There's more interesting choices than Adam Cole. JM with the $30 Bully the Clown super chat. I hate to see a fellow Bret Hart guy get frustrated reviewing a show. Here's something to cheer you up. Just don't go full Bret Hart on me and say frustrated isn't the goddamn word for it. This is bullshit. You know, JM, you screw me. Everybody screws me. My girlfriend screws me. Everybody screws me, and nobody does anything about it. Thank you, JM. Mexi Wolf 009 with the 1999. Jon Moxley has always been the go-to guy, whether in WWE or AEW, when it comes to filling in for people who are injured or last-minute main events. Is Moxley the most valuable wrestler in any promotion? He's one of them. I remember there was a period of time in WWE where, he had this run there for a while where they were really relying pretty heavily on him, and I think he went. I forgot what the record was. He went a while without missing any shows. I think he had like the Iron Man record in WWE, and then eventually he did get hurt, and he went away for a while. But he's definitely one of the MVPs in the company, and he's still over. He's as over now as he was when he first came in. You know, the people love him. Luis is one of our Sound Up legends. He says MJF and CM Punk are the two best things to happen to AEW. Talk about working yourself into a shoot. JM dropping $50. Seems like AEW has been teasing a split between Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter. Yes, they've been doing that for a while now. If they do, who do you think would come out of the split as the heel? Or could you see any heel turns out of the recent signees or established female babyfaces? Oh, I don't know about that. I think Athena will be a babyface. I don't think that's gonna, change. Of the two, who would be the heel and who would be the face? I would think Hayter would be the babyface. I mean, I'm sure eventually we'll get a Britt babyface turn. Britt was awful as a babyface. She was terrible. And maybe now would be different because now she's gotten more comfortable. She's got her own character. She's got that whole thing down. But when Britt Baker was a babyface, the best thing that ever happened to her was turning heel. So I don't think her going back to being a babyface right now would be the best idea. I think of the two, it would probably be Jamie Hayter. That would be the face in that combo. Darth Panic with the $5. Your thoughts on Bray Wyatt and Cesaro supposedly making a return to WWE? I didn't want to give away my predictions for Sunday, but I do believe that we are going to be seeing the return of Bray Wyatt. And I think that we may very well be getting that at the end of the night on Sunday. And the reason for that, it actually has very little to do with Seth Rollins. And it has everything to do with Cody Rhodes. There is a history there. There is a history between Cody Rhodes and Bray Wyatt that goes back to their days in the original NXT. And some of the things that Bray has been posting on social media lead me to believe that I think his return is imminent. But I'll talk more about that on the podcast on Sunday. Some very interesting history between those two that a lot of people may not be aware of, or that they may not remember. Jeremy Styron with the $10 super chat. To consistently have over 1,000 people watching into the wee hours of the morning is a testament to you and the quality of this channel. I just wanted to raise a glass and say thank you. And I will raise my glass to you as well. That was a very nice thing of you to say, Jeremy. I appreciate the support. And I appreciate people like you sticking around for what I do. Makes it all worth it. Into the wee hours. Very little sleep, but it's all worth it. King Bling Blah. Do you make Tony an on-screen character now? I still am very hesitant to make Tony Khan an on-screen character. I think him making an appearance here and there is fine. But no, I don't make him a regular recurring on-screen character. MJF can refer to Tony Khan. He can drop Tony Khan's name all he wants. I don't think he has the chops to be... He's not Vince McMahon. I don't think it would be a good idea to put him on television every week or every other week. So I would not do that. Griga, Ontario show was fire. I think Griga may have been at the show. Simi Valley, thank you for the 5. Appreciate that. Hyru with the 5. I'm not sure who's been passed around more, Lacey Evans between brands or D'Lo Brown's neck supporting his head moving from left to right. D'Lo is great. D'Lo. And how his head didn't fall off his shoulders, I'll never know. D'Lo is great. D'Lo is great. And Quintus Brown with the $5 super chat. If Mox wins the interim AEW championship, he would be the first 2-time AEW champion. Yes, he would be. And here I just answered a question about this on Wednesday. Somebody asked me, who do I think is going to be the first ever 2-time AEW champion? And I said Kenny Omega. Little did I know 2 days later that we would be in this situation. But technically, yes, if he wins, he would be the first 2-time AEW world champion. He would indeed. There's a lot of good questions there. A lot of good super chats. I appreciate all the love and all the support. We've had a very good couple of months, and that is due to your support. All I can do is just pump out the content, and it doesn't matter if nobody shows up. If nobody shows up to watch and to listen to what I have to say, then none of it matters. You guys come out in full force every week, and I appreciate it. And I hope you do the same on Sunday night. Again, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to go live necessarily after In Your House tomorrow night, but I might. But I'm definitely going live on Sunday night for Hell in a Cell. So even if you're not watching Hell in a Cell, I expect you to be here, because you know I'm going to fill you in about everything. I'm going to tell you what the deal is with the good, the bad, and the ugly, like we do every single month. We're going to have fun here, even if the show itself isn't fun. I think Cody and Seth are going to have a really good match. Their first two matches were excellent. I don't see any reason why their Hell in a Cell match would be any different. The last Hell in a Cell match that we had was in October at Crown Jewel. Seth Rollins was in that match as well. He and Edge tore it up. They had an excellent Hell in a Cell match. So that match is probably going to be worth the price of admission. But I can't exactly say that I'm overly excited about the overall show. Simi Valley just dropped a 5 spot. How would you book a Bray Wyatt-Cody Rhodes feud with both of them coming out of it looking strong? I mean, I'm not gonna fantasy book the whole thing out. There's a history there between them, and I will get more into that on the podcast on Sunday. It does go back to the NXT days. It goes back to Cody embarrassing him on television and poking fun at his weight. Bray has kind of alluded to that in tweets, past tweets, not recent tweets from, I think, about 3 years ago. Also very interesting to take a look at the new profile picture that he posted, which is a butterfly. And if you look closely, you'll see a little face of the Fiend's head, the Fiend's face is on the butterfly. But the fact that it's a butterfly is relevant. It's relevant to something he said in a tweet about Cody Rhodes 3 years ago. So it's all sort of connected. You know, maybe I'm reading too much into it. It's always possible. Maybe I'm giving WWE too much credit here for planning this out. But this is something that Bray would plan out. If Bray is coming back, this is exactly the sort of kind of level of detail that he would pay attention to. And, you know, honestly, when I think about Bray Wyatt and what his options are and where he might end up, I don't think AEW is it. I don't think AEW is a good fit right now. There's so many people. And you already have House of Black and Malachi, who's doing kind of a similar character to the Bray Wyatt cult leader character that we saw in WWE. You know, even if Bray comes in and completely reinvents himself, and he couldn't call himself Bray Wyatt anymore, but where does he fit in? I mean, is he going to make an appearance and then he's going to be on television once every 6 weeks? I think this is the wrong time, frankly, to even be talking about him possibly coming into AEW. If he doesn't go there, where else is he going to go? He's not going to get the same stage and the same platform anywhere else except WWE. So that's what has me thinking, you know, these rumors pop up every few months that he's going to come back. They're going to rehire him. I definitely think that there's something to it this time. And the tie-in with Cody, you know, it would give Cody a program and something to do in the meantime if he's not going directly into a championship match with Roman Reigns, which I don't believe he is. This has to be the blow-off for Cody and Seth. Where do you go after this? Could be Cody and Bray. And you're right. How do you come out of that where both guys look strong? There has to be a winner and there has to be a loser, right? They can't both win the feud. I do think you'd have to give Bray a win at some point. They'd have multiple matches. But you know, there's definitely a way to do it where both of them come out looking good. There's always a way to do it where both guys, even with one guy losing, can still come out looking strong. There's always a way to do that. But you've got to be careful with Cody because Cody can lose. Cody losing one match is not the end of the world. You'll see. I guarantee you. first time that Cody loses a match, if he loses to Seth on Sunday, all right, you're going to have people on social media, well, it was nice while it lasted. Cody is buried. You're going to see that word thrown around so many times. Well, Cody is buried. It's all over. The Cody push is finished. One loss. It's not going to matter. Cody, he's not Goldberg. Cody doesn't have to go undefeated between now and the day that he wins the WWE Championship. He's not going to be undefeated. But I do think you want to make sure, you want to take great pains to make sure that you're keeping him strong. And he doesn't lose too many matches. So they could trade a couple of wins and then have a blow-off and have a proper program with each other. But it would be the biggest possible way to reintroduce The Fiend into things. Whether he's The Fiend, whether he's just Bray, it doesn't even have to be The Fiend. You know, it could just be Bray Wyatt reinventing himself again. Kind of a new look maybe, or a new version of the character. But as the week has gone on, I have come around to the idea that there's a very good chance we're going to get that on Sunday night. I do believe. Nick Grosso, if Bray Wyatt returns, he should feud with Judgment Day. Cassio Black, not sure if you've discussed, but if they bring any women from Japan for Forbidden Door, anybody in particular that you would like to see? Right now they're not. Doesn't mean they can't change their mind as far as bringing people in from Stardom. Stardom is owned by the same company that owns New Japan. Kenny Omega obviously has connections over there to the Joshi scene. I'd love to see Kairi Hojo, former Kairi Sane. Would love to see her back on TV. Dropping that big elbow. Rizzo with the $9.99. I thought Bray was coming back, especially with his most recent tweets, but I completely forgot about him and Cody having history. Bray is such a creative guy that deserves more. You know, again, it could just be much ado about nothing. But the butterfly thing, and there's little things that I think some people either don't know about or aren't paying attention to. The story is there. I think the only question is, does he factor into the finish of the match, or does Cody beat Seth and then the lights go out after the match is already over? Because honestly, the last thing I want is another bullshit finish to Hell in a Cell. I don't need flashbacks to the last time we saw Bray Wyatt and Seth Rollins inside the cell together. I think I might have a heart attack. I would just as soon let the match play out and finish, and then shoot whatever angle you're going to shoot after the match is already over. We've had at least a couple of Hell in a Cell matches. One that ended with a no contest. One, I think there was a disqualification or a ref stoppage, whatever it was. Everybody in the world, I think it was a ref stoppage, but everybody, including Sean Waltman, thought it was a DQ. Even he, I'll never forget, he was doing the, it was like a live watch along on WWE's YouTube channel. And when he saw the finish of that Hell in a Cell match with Bray and Seth, the way he went off on them and how stupid it was, you could tell like some of the people sitting in there were, because it was a WWE watch along, how uncomfortable they were. But I appreciated that. I appreciate the fact that he was just reacting like a fan. He was reacting in a genuine way. It's no wonder they never had him back for another one of those. Shocking, I know. But I appreciated the honesty from Sean Waltman on their own channel. It was stupid. Probably the worst Hell in a Cell match that there has ever been was that match with The Fiend and Seth Rollins in 2019. Awful. Awful. All right, let's get to it. We got more super chats in. I will read them, but let's not waste any more time. Let us get to Be the Booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to Be the Booker,
where we book ourselves a few random main event matches and see if we can come up with better booking than WWE does. Most of the time, I think we do. I think the answer is yes. But not always. So we do one for the men, we do one for the women, and I have just introduced this week, brand new, the tag team version of Be the Booker. Now, I may not be doing all three like this every stream, but I figured tonight we'll do all three. So we will, well, actually, I forgot to activate the men first. We'll start with them. We usually start with the men's Be the Booker. Let's see what we come up with here we'll book our own Forbidden Door show. How about that? We're going to book our own Forbidden Door. And we're going to begin with Arnold Schwarzenegger. There he is. That was the night that he was presented with his own custom WWE Championship belt replica. Remember, he was there to promote his movie End of Days. I remember him being in the ring going, "The End of Days." He was there to promote his movie. I think wasn't Gabriel Byrne in that movie or something? I think I saw that a few years ago. Arnold. How's that for a first pick, though? The Terminator. Let's see. Arnold. Oh my goodness. It's Perk Angle, everybody. It is Perk Angle. Oh, I'm giving that the bell. What a fucking match. Perk Angle against Arnold Schwarzenegger. Look at the look in his face. This is the definition. What you see right there on your screen is the definition of the lights are on and nobody's home. You know what's scary is that I met Kurt at a TNA show. Very first event they ever did in New York City. It was at Webster Hall. Yeah, he had a match in the main event that night against Christian. And it was a good match. Short match, but it was a good match. And they had this gimmick at the time where you can get into the ring after and take a picture. And Kurt had the title and everything. And I said, sure, why not? Why not? It was a good gimmick they had going, right? And I got into the ring and I'm holding the TNA title and I'm posing with him. And just, I was like shaking his hand and staring at him. And just the glassy look in his eye. It was like, how does this guy function? Like, what is he on? Look at him in this picture. He looks like, what does he look like here? He looks like he's about to rob a liquor store or something. He looks like somebody who would walk up to you on the street and go, hey, do you have some crack? Fucking Perk Angle against Arnold Schwarzenegger. I love it. You never know what you're going to get here and Be the Booker. That's what makes it so great. Let's go to the ladies here. We begin with, well. We go from Perk Angle to Dixie Carter. Good old delusional Dixie. Not the first time we've landed on her here in Be the Booker. It's not often I actually pick the Booker, but that's what we have done here. We literally are being the Booker here with Dixie Carter. Who will Dixie be stepping into the ring with? I wonder. Dixie Carter one-on-one with Serena Deeb. I know Serena's got all the talent in the world, but not even she can save that. Sorry, Serena. You're no miracle worker. Well, hopefully we'll have some better luck with the tag teams here. Over 160 tag teams, all jumbled up. Where will the wheel land? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Not even me. Hey, it's the Holly Cousins. Hardcore and Crash. One of my favorite tag teams from the Attitude Era. Very entertaining together. Crash Holly, 24/7. 24/7. Crash Holly, fuck the 24/7. Hardcore Champion. How can I mix up those two? Crash Holly, the Hardcore Champion. One of the best parts of the Attitude Era. We got the Holly Cousins stepping into the ring. What the fuck? Oh, it's Lowdown. Lowdown. I should know. I put the graphic in there. I forgot for a second what they called themselves. Here's a tag team I bet you forgot about. Lowdown. Somebody mentioned D'Lo Brown before. Look at that. Look who wound up on our screen. D'Lo Brown and Chaz, the former Mosh of the Headbangers. The Holly Cousins and Lowdown. Not exactly a main event match. Yeah, yes, Nathan. A Sunday Night Heat matchup. That sounds about right. How many of you, in all seriousness, how many of you even remembered this being a team? I came across a few that even I didn't remember. I said, I got to put them in there. I got to see if I'm the only one who forgot about these two. I completely forgot they put those two together as a team. Well, you never know what you're going to get with Be the Booker, but it's always fun. It's always fun to see what we land on. So I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Darth Panic, he remembers. He raised his hand. He says he remembers. Was Tiger Ali Singh their manager? Yeah, I think you're right. I think he was. I think Tiger Ali Singh was their manager. We got a super chat here from Juan Ocampo, $1.99. Laughed tears when you learned what chinga meant. You know, I have to do my research here, and I didn't know what the big deal was. I didn't know why Fox would bleep out the name of the move. I said, what's the big deal? They've been calling it the Chingona Bomb now in NXT for a couple of years. What's the big deal? So then I looked it up, and it's not exactly the same thing. I mean, if we're being honest. Chinga, Chingona. But then I saw that, what chinga meant, and chinga can sometimes be used, as the word fuck. Or, fuck off. I will die on that hill. I think that is a fantastic finishing name move. Apparently Fox disagrees. So now it is the Tejana Bomb. It will always be the Chingona Bomb to me. Rizzo. I admittedly went, who the fuck is that, when that came up. Turtlehead, Veer. Must be done coming, I guess. Yeah, Veer came weeks ago. He's had a nice sleep. The man is entitled. He's entitled to some rest. Zombified Guitarist, $5 super chat. I feel like making Crash the first 24/7 champion on a technicality would add prestige to that title and would fit Crash's shtick. Well, I hate to break it to you, but Crash is dead. Crash Holly died years ago. Crash Holly died in 2003. He's been dead for almost 20 years. So, I mean, I understand we're getting a super chat here from a zombie. So maybe Zombie Crash could win the title, but I don't know if you were aware of that or not. But Crash Holly has been dead for a while. Beaver Cleavage, yes, I remember Beaver Cleavage. Boy, he had some real winners for gimmicks, didn't he, in that company? Oz and Glorious, one of our channel members. He's been a channel member for 13 months. Buy or sell Lalo, Salamanca, or Negan? I gotta go Negan. Lalo's a great character on Better Call Saul, but Negan is Negan. Come on. It's hard to beat Negan. Is Spike Dudley still? Yeah, Spike Dudley is alive and well. Well, he's alive. All the concussions that guy probably had, I worry for his future. But yes, Crash is right. Actually, one of the more nasty bumps I've ever seen. Well, there's two of them. Crash has said that the worst bump he ever took, the most painful bump that he ever took, and think of all of the bumps that he took, all the slams and being tossed into the crowd by Bam Bam Bigelow, all the stuff that he did. He said the most painful injury was The Undertaker chokeslamming him out of the ring onto the mats on the floor outside, which I think was a spot he insisted on doing. He pitched it to The Undertaker. Undertaker wanted to, make sure he didn't hurt him, but he said that hurt worse than any other injury, any other bump he's ever taken. But I also remember the night on Raw where La Resistance picked him up for a double powerbomb, and they were supposed to powerbomb him out of the ring through a table that was set up outside, and they undershot the table, and the back of Spike's head smacked the edge of the table as he hit the floor. It was sickening. It was a sickening bump. Spike took some fucking abuse, man. Zombified guitarist, I feel like making... Oh, we already said that. Where's his new message? I thought he had a new one. Oh, no, it was Dez. What's going on, Dez? Yeah, I've watched half of the Broken Skull sessions with Jeff Jarrett. It's good. It's good so far. I'm not done with it, though. I'm going to try to finish it tomorrow so I can talk about it on Sunday, but only if I finish it. And all this news tonight sort of just blew up my entire weekend, so we'll see how that goes. But it's almost 2 hours long. I'm about an hour into it. It's been very good so far. Rene Dupree has a podcast. I guess everybody has one these days. Is Rene Dupree related to Max Dupree? Hey, Jeremy, thank you for the $1. Appreciate it. Jeremy Thunder Strikes. Spike against Walter. Holy shit. All right. This has been fun. Unfortunate about the CM Punk situation, but I thought we kind of broke things down. I mapped out some of the potential options here. And there's more than just the 3 options I talked about, but the MJF one is the one that I think is just going to end up being the most interesting. And if you really want to make AEW television as must-see as possible, then that's the way to go. You put that interim title on MJF and you let him just run free and continue this angle that you started doing, and I think that will more than make up for the lack of CM Punk on TV until he's ready to come back. And when he is, you've got a ready-made champion against champion match between the 2 hottest guys in the entire company. I think it kind of sells itself. Zombified guitarist, dropping $2. Truly, look up Terryman Calf Branding for Hangman. I don't know what that is. I will have to look that up. Hey, Jeremy Thunderstrikes just became a Sound Off superstar, which gives him access to some of our bonus features in the archives and other fun features that are be coming up in the near future. Bonus Q&As. I'm going to try to shoot to do another call-in show, live call-in show, where I take phone calls from you guys. Probably next week or the week after. And then we got some other watch-alongs coming up this summer. Some big 25-year anniversaries coming up, including the big Canadian Stampede match next month. I'm thinking maybe we'll do a watch-along for that. It's one of my favorite matches. So again, that's open to all channel members, regardless of what tier that you are on. And finally here, we've got RJ Sterling. MJF wins the interim title to a CM Punk return, just like Cena won the WWE interim title to a CM Punk return. Good idea, yes or no? I think MJF would be the best choice, yes. By the way, I talked about how stupid it was for them to do the TNT interim stuff when Cody was gone for like a week. That was pretty stupid too, if you think about it. I mean, again, I know why they did it, because they wanted champion against champion at SummerSlam with Cena and Punk, but Punk was also gone for like a week. He was gone for a week. Maybe 2 at the most. But see, at least in that situation, that's different though. I can't pick on WWE too much for that, because in that case, the storyline was that Punk left. And they didn't know when or if he would be coming back. So that made sense though. Right? You got to crown a new champion. Punk took the belt and left. Okay, he's gone. Let's put the title on somebody. and then he just happened to show up that same night. I still maintain he came back way too quickly. But see, at least in that scenario, it made sense why WWE would rush to crown a new champion. GCC 305 with the $5. Buy or sell. Eddie against Mysterio from Halloween Havoc 97. Or Austin against Hart, WrestleMania 13, 1997. Both are having their 25th anniversary this year. Well, I did a watch-along for the Brett and Austin match. We had a lot of fun with that one back in March. I got to buy on Brett and Austin. I mean, Ray and Eddie had a classic. They had a fantastic match. Not better than Austin and Brett. Austin and Brett is truly one of the best matches that I have ever seen. Bar none. But both of those matches happened in 1997. And the Canadian Stampede match. Tell you, a lot of good wrestling in 97. People talk about the Attitude Era. It wasn't about the in-ring. The Monday Night Wars. It was about, the characters and DX and the NWO and who's going to jump from one show to the other. And it was, younger me it wasn't about work, or it wasn't just about work rate. But there were some pretty fucking great matches during some of those years. There was some really great wrestling matches during those years that are still talked about today. In fact, I mean, it might be neck and neck between these two as two of the best matches of all time in WWE. Happened in 1997. Brett and Austin at WrestleMania. Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker, Hell in a Cell, Bad Blood. All happened in the same year. And I'm going to talk about that match. In fact, on the podcast on Sunday, before I get into my predictions, I'm going to do a little preamble. This is the 25-year anniversary of Hell in a Cell this year. And unless WWE is waiting until October, that'll officially be 25 years to the month. I'm kind of surprised they're not making a bigger deal out of Hell in a Cell this year being, the 25-year anniversary of the stipulation, of the match concept. I don't even think they've mentioned it once on TV, which is kind of surprising. So I will. If they won't, I will. We'll do that on the podcast on Sunday. Thank you all for your support. This has been a fun night. Killed it tonight. Here are the polls one last time. Rampage, you guys gave that a strong thumbs up, about 71% thumbs up. Over on SmackDown, well, that paints the picture for you. I don't really even need to say anything. But I will for the people listening to this on the audio. 17.4% thumbs up. 56% of you have given SmackDown a thumbs down. What a night. That's SmackDown. What more can be said? I may be live tomorrow night. I may not be, but I will definitely see you guys on Sunday. Again, double podcast that day. Come on back for Hell in a Cell. I'll be here, and I expect you to be as well. So until then, have a great weekend, and check out 759. Also, dropping on Sunday. Appreciate all the love and support, you guys. Have a great weekend. I'll see you then.